Well, he can handle that. Not my problem.
Hold on, Jordan.
Never they get this kind of shenanigans when I'm the host.
That's my middle name, pal.
Host?
I have a ridiculous middle name, actually.
I know it. I just don't know it.
Going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB Deeper Dive presented by BetMGM. Want a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum? Legitimately just a free $120 month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. All the tools for every single sport. Tell you how to do that in a little bit. But first, what's going on? Happy to have you with us. A little 14-game action today, kicking this one off early. Got Jordan behind the scenes just nagging me, telling me, we got to go. We're fine. Adam and I banged out the strategy show in an hour today. That was with him just dealing with crippling allergies in July, no less. And Josh, you didn't want to hear any of my Genghis Khan history lessons. I thought they were super interesting.
I found that entire conversation interesting, but not for the same reason that you did. You very much took the role of Josh Engleman on the strategy show this morning and ran that one clean into the ground for absolutely no reason. It was fun to watch.
You act like I haven't always done this. The difference is you try to do it on live before locks when we have no shelf life and no time. I'm just careful. I'm meticulous about how I do it. We have like 10 games to go with 30 minutes. And you're like, by the way, I need to ask you, do you want to hear all of Joey Chestnut's records? You're like, I've got a couple of them. Someone tweeted me about this. They're like,
yeah.
Let me read off a couple of the records that he holds. You read off 35 of them with 10 games to go.
That's sort of the problem for me, though. I need those things to happen on live before lock with no shelf life because it's not good if people continue to hear whatever I said.
Happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel. Making that climb to 100,000 subs. All of your support greatly appreciated. I mean that too. All that stuff goes a long way. Atone for your sins here on the Deeper Dive. Bow down before the YouTube overlords. We need to appease them. And many of you have already done so. I know. But let's just crank this up over 100 likes. Let's make it happen. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful evening. And we got 14 games, dude.
We do indeed. We do indeed. Hopefully it goes better for me today than it did yesterday.
You want to talk about it?
Not really. Not really. Evidently, the person that won is a sub of ours.
Well, that's good. Not for you.
No, not at all. I thumbs down the post in our Slack.
Oh, wait, that guy? That was the guy? The one that thanked you?
I think he thanked everybody. I don't think it was just me. Let me double check. We could, because the news guy dropped that one off in customer support. He just thanked like us. He sent in an email with a screenshot that he had gotten first place. I'm not happy for him.
Well,
you know, it would have been a lot cooler if Nick Pivetta didn't strike out 12 with no hits in 6 innings to come out of nowhere to beat me.
Oakland's not very good.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Could have done without that Shohei Ohtani homer. That man has now cost me about $100,000 over the past 6 weeks.
Let's get into it, man. Let's make this happen. Fernando said, you guys are trying to get me off track already. Dave, the soldier that defected is from here in El Paso, Texas, Fort Bliss. Yeah, I don't,
what?
Dude, there was a U.S. soldier that was on a tour. On the South and North Korea border. And he just
where I want to go for a tour.
Dude, he just crossed into the North Korea border and they snatched him up.
That's not like a Carnival cruise or anything, is it?
Honestly, North Korea might be better than a Carnival cruise.
I would rather go to North Korea than a Carnival cruise. I mean, I would never go on a Carnival cruise. Would have to there would have to be giving me money when I got onto that boat.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go. I would not go for free. No doubt about it.
There's no way.
No.
There's no way. Like, can we just go to North Korea, please?
So what happened with this dude? Because obviously, he
was on a tour and he just I don't know if it was intentional or accidental. I haven't looked at it since this morning, but he just went on to the north. He crossed over. He crossed over into North Korea territory. And
Well, does he know that? Is there like a now
I don't
leaving
know.
South Korea sign at the
I don't
border?
know.
So you know
North Korea isn't exactly open with communication. I don't think they just hit up Biden and was like, "Hey, we got your guy." So at the time, I don't know. What I do know is that he crossed over and they detained him, and that's what I know.
Oh, he's never coming back, right?
Yeah, I think Arnold said it was a military. It was like a UN something tour. I forget what it was, but
So that guy is property in North Korea now.
uh, apparently, yeah. And you know what happened to Otto Warmbier? So, I mean, I don't know. And then in the article I read, it's like he was a low-ranking soldier. It's like, Jesus, dude.
It's a shame that he doesn't like play professional basketball in the United States. We would probably try to trade to get him back.
We got 14 games to talk about today. And it is the Dodgers and the Baltimore Orioles first, 9.5 run total. Dodgers plus 105 in the money line. All right. So the one thing I want to point out to you, just in case people start wondering why there are certain games that we don't spend, as much time on, or certain pitchers or certain spots that we don't spend as much time on, ownership on pitchers is skewed heavily to the top. It's skewed super heavy in one game, as a matter of fact. I guess Bailey Ober's come down a little bit, but right now, as of looking at the top pitchers tool, we only have 7 guys pulling 10+% ownership. One of them's at 40, one of them's at 20. No one else is above 20. And then with the stacks, you've seen it, the top stacks tool, top stack percentage. You have 2 teams, Houston and San Francisco, head and shoulders above everybody else today.
Yeah, I don't like this slate nearly. Like, I liked yesterday's because there was some balance. It's kind of wild at the top today. I have a team that I want to get to a lot, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But managing the Astros and the Giants right now is the Astros in particular, Giants to a degree, just because of how cheap they are. It's a balancing act today. It's a weird slate. If one of the Astros or the Giants end up being that team today, it's going to be real gross at the top.
There are some teams that can do it for sure. It's a 14-game slate, right? So there are some teams that can do it. But when you're just looking at, right, like a cursory view, you're not going, man, Yankees are my top stack today, or Detroit. Look how many teams are between 2 and 4% top stack percentage in the top stacks tool. Like 15 of them.
Even if you just want to look at like the top 3, which is going to be Houston, San Francisco, Atlanta, 21% top stack, 10% top stack, 8% top stack, just, rounding all of these off. Those 3 numbers, when you just look at that, you're still getting a situation where like 65% of the time it's one of these random other 21 teams. That's where it starts to get, there's no set. Like, if you tell me that you like the Marlins today and I'm like, no way, it's the White Sox, there's no difference between these 2 teams other than like 0.3 of a percentage point in top stack. There's no way to separate team 28 and team 14, probably. Like, all of them are the same.
That's what I mean. It's just all mixed together.
It's
so
awful.
But as I said, just throwing that out there so you understand, some of these games are not going to take a whole lot of time. It's not anything outside of that. So let's get into it. Before we do, last thing from NBC News: a troubled U.S. soldier stationed in South Korea who was being sent home, so I guess he was in trouble, joined a group of tourists at the airport who were headed for the demilitarized zone, where he bolted across the border into North Korea, a senior administration official told NBC News. Whatever he did that he was being sent home for must have been so bad and so heinous that his only out was hopping the border to North Korea.
Well, do you think he's like shady? Is he just like going home now?
Oh, what? You think he was like a double agent?
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
I mean, that's the only way that any of this really makes sense.
Right. Nobody goes like, man, I have to get out of trouble. If I can just get into North Korea, I'm fine. Woo. I
mean, if you're on their side, it's probably like a great place to be.
I said that to Adam today. If you're super smart, like, and you can benefit them technologically and everything, do you think you'd live like a king? He said no. I think they'd treat you very well.
Yeah, whatever sort of setup that Dennis Rodman gets when he goes there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, Mr. Un, I love you.
My problem is that I only picture him like The Interview, like singing Katy Perry and stuff. So I don't know how true any of that is, but that's sort of my problem.
He's a big basketball guy.
I mean, Dennis Rodman's coming to hang out.
Kim Jong-un, yeah. He's like, I thought they were sending Michael Jordan. Sent this freak. All right, let's talk about the Yankees and Baltimore.
I mean, they probably get into it though.
Oh yeah, sure. Michael Grove, Tyler Wells, two righties on the bump, 9.5 run total in this game. We talked about it this morning too. Like, Wells is a good pitcher, but this isn't exactly an easy matchup for either guy. It's not like Michael Grove has been particularly good either. No. Any pitching you want to get to today in this game?
Not really. Wells at 9,400 against the Dodgers. That's just like kind of a tough sell in Baltimore. And then on the opposite side, 5,700 for Grove works as a price tag. And I guess it's depending on which team at the top you're trying to get to is like sort of interesting. But again, with the run totals set up the way they are, with the talent of Grove in general, who tends to get lit up by lefties at the very least, is the park that's very good for lefty power. I'm not on either one of these pitchers, and it doesn't appear that anybody is. 4% ownership coming into Wells, just 1% to Grove.
Looking at the bats, though, I guess this could get a little interesting, right? You have a 9.5 run total, close to 5 implied total for both of these teams today. Baltimore bats against Grove, do they appeal to you? And let me once again point out, Baltimore is another one of those teams kind of just in the thick of it among all of those teams that have pretty much the same top stack percentage in the tool.
I sort of like, this is one of those teams where I wouldn't mind getting more. Grove gets lit up by lefties, as I mentioned. 206 x ISO over the past 2 seasons, a 355 x WOBA. Doesn't really generate a lot of swinging stripes. So someone like Gunnar Henderson looks really good. Ryan O'Hearn looks good. They would be like the first two. Obviously, guys like Rutschman and Santander are going to be hitting from both sides. So a lot of lefties here to beat up on Grove. It stands out as an appealing spot. I don't have a ton. I actually have a little bit more of the Dodgers side of this one. But if you are someone that looks at the Baltimore Orioles today and wants to get there, the top of their order has a ton of power, and that fits the park and the matchup.
Tyler Wells this season, 258 x ISO to right-handed hitters. That is significant. 167 x ISO to lefties. Been very good again. I mean, 275 x WOBA. Looking at righties, though, they have at least the expected numbers. Looking at the 322 x WOBA, 258 x ISO, and a lower swinging strike rate by 3% as well. Righties have been a little bit troublesome there.
Yeah, and you could add in last year too. That gives you another 900 plus pitches on Wells. Still keeps the x ISO at 232. So he has very little problem giving up a lot of power to righties. Unfortunately for us, Dodgers running out 5 lefties here against Wells, which is fine. Like, it's not as if he just negates them completely. Still gives up a little bit of pop. Doesn't give up much else other than the pop. And when the lefties are Freddie Freeman or Max Muncy, they kind of transcend matchup in this spot, but not the best spot for like David Peralta, Jason Hayward, James Outman, but Betts, Will Smith, JD Martinez, like those first 5 Dodgers. I like those guys quite a bit. I have 13 5-man Dodger stacks right now. I have the Dodgers ranked a little bit higher than the Orioles just because there's so much raw talent in the lineup. Neither one of these teams is a major priority to me, but it's a good enough offensive environment. You see the implied run total for the Orioles and the Dodgers. It's a spot that I want to have some of, but not a lot of.
Let's talk about Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Kind of a weird spot here for Mitch Keller. Also, the fact that he's not, you're not getting a significant discount here. He's second highest priced pitcher on the slate. But you look at Cleveland's active roster against righties. They have the lowest strikeout rate in the league. They also have the lowest ISO in the league. So collectively, they don't strike out, and they have not been hitting for power. It's a favorable pitcher's park, but the question is, are the strikeouts going to be there for a guy that's sitting around 10K?
No, I don't really see how you can go to Mitch Keller here. I'm very, very low on him. I have the aggregate strikeout rate for the Guardians today at 17%. That is basically zero when it comes to like projecting out strikeout rates. It's really hard. I mean, everybody in the Guardians lineup except for Bo Naylor is sub 19%. That's nuts. That's clearly like an organizational decision too, I think. I think they're looking for guys with low strikeout rates. It's really hard to accumulate that many at the same time and see that kind of situation. But for today, you can't go to Keller. And I don't think that you're going to Logan Allen on the opposite side either.
Yeah, it's funny because all of them, you look at all of their strikeouts, right? And then like you were talking about, just the strikeout rate, the way it's designed. But then you look at the individual ISO on all these guys on the active roster. And
yeah.
it's just so funny to see something like that. I mean, they're putting balls in play, but outside of what, Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor, I guess some of them are okay. Josh Naylor is 195, Ramirez at 206, but just so many of them in the gutter. So with that in mind, do you like the bats from either side of these games?
No, and you can see it in our top stacks tool. The Pirates are 23rd in top stack. They're second in value. So, if you need to save money, I guess you can go that direction. I don't find it all that appealing. Similar for the Guardians. They're 14th in top stack, 14th in top value. It's just a middle of the pack team. Kudos to the Guardians for yesterday's performance. That's what got me all the way up to third. No kudos at all to Will Brennan, who had multiple opportunities late, including with the bases loaded, to try to give me a little bit of a boost. He chose not to do that, unfortunately. Today is not a day that I'm going to be getting to the Guardians. I have one 3-man stack of Cleveland. I think I have like one 3-man stack of the Pirates. I don't really like anything here. Righty power just absolutely dies in Pittsburgh. You can see the run total for both sides, not all that appealing. This is a game where I basically just want it to be nothing. Cleveland's getting a little bit of love. They're 7th in aggregate ownership. I mean, the most is Jimenez at 10%, so it's not like it's a lot, but I want this game to just be quiet. Like, be 4-3 or 5-4 at the end of it all. One home run at best, and let's just pretend that it's not on the slate.
I want to talk about bats in this next game. I'll just throw it over to you for pitching real quick to get your take on Joe Musgrove and Alek Manoah. I mean, Manoah, the guy had really been struggling, and the last start was solid, but it was against Detroit. Now you've got a more difficult matchup against San Diego, and the Padres still have an implied total north of 5. Manoah not getting much ownership despite being cheap. Musgrove getting a little bit. Any interest in the pitching here?
I mean, if it weren't the Padres, Manoah starts to look really interesting at 7,100 if he's just sort of like normal. He could also go out there and just get tattooed again, and it wouldn't make much of a difference. But against the Padres, I don't think that the risk is really worth it. There's not a lot of strikeouts. The lineup is loaded, or at least through the heart of the lineup, it's absolutely loaded. If you want to hope you're right and Manoah is back, go for it. I don't think that that's the case. He projects for a 4.5 FIP in Steamer, so it's a little bit worse than what it seems. I don't want to go there. And then on the opposite side for Musgrove, certainly a more talented pitcher than Alek Manoah. And, you're not worried about him getting touched up or anything like that, but there's a lot of power in this Blue Jays lineup. Righty power plays up in Toronto. Lefty power is played down a little bit, so not as good for Belt or Varsho or Kiermaier. Righty power, though, against Joe Musgrove, not all that exciting. 135 xISO over the last 2 years. I don't really have Musgrove. I don't really have Manoah. This is another game where it's just the pitching's too good for the hitting, and it negates everything. Although the Padres do rank really well in our top stack tool.
Well, that's kind of one of the things, right? Because if Manoah regresses back to the Manoah we saw before the last start, you're going to want some San Diego Padres, right? That's kind of the thing. I mean, he had been allowing ample power. He had been tuned up and just a ton of starts. He didn't get out of the first inning in that last start before. What was he sent down for a month or something, right?
I think it was even less than that, but you could be right.
His last start was...
But he gave up 100 runs in one of the starts when he went down.
Yeah, June 5th was his last start, and then he came back on the 7th of July. So around the month.
Yeah, he only made 2 appearances in the minors.
Right, but he looked a lot better. He struck out 8. It's just, for me, I sit here and go, all right, and we could look over everything, but is it fool's gold because he was going up against Detroit? You know what I mean? Like, and then San Diego's just going to smack him around. I don't know.
Probably.
The top stacks tool has San Diego with the 5th highest top stack probability. Slight negative leverage though, just because they're getting a little more ownership than you'd like to see.
Yeah, I think that's deceiving for their ownership. It's 13% to Tatis.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant to a stack. Like, it's Fernando Tatis. He should just get owned. It's 11% to Juan Soto. Again, to me, that's irrelevant. The next highest guy is Kim in the leadoff spot at 6%. So this isn't really a stack that's getting as much ownership as our ownership implies that it is, because it's just concentrated on 2 guys that are incredibly popular one-off opportunities. If you like the idea of going to San Diego, there is certainly some upside here. Machado and Bogarts, Tatis obviously getting the ownership, but Machado, Bogarts, Gary Sanchez, those 3 guys, if you're looking to try to buy like a righty power bat in a place where righty power plays up a little bit, that's, I think, where you go. Although Manoah tends to give up quite a bit more power to lefties. So I think Alek Manoah is in a really, like, if he has it today, or let me, I guess, say it the other way. If he doesn't have it, there's no saving him. But if he's even just passable, I think the park really fits him for this start.
So what you're saying is not getting a lot of him, but also not a ton of San Diego bats, and hope this game goes the same way as Cleveland and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I have a few scattered Padres 5-mans, but no priorities. Roster Tatis and Soto as much as you want. That goes without saying. A similar story for Vlad Guerrero, I guess, but not as interesting.
White Sox and the New York Mets. So White Sox plus 110 on the road, 9-run total in this game. Right now, you've got Lucas Giolito at around 10%. Yeah. You have Carlos Carrasco, understandably cheap, coming in at 17% on a 14-game slate. This right now, Josh, is your 4th highest owned pitcher on the slate. Now, I understand that, this is a matchup that isn't that bad. Chicago with the 10th highest K rate in the league, 90 WRC plus versus right-handed pitching is one of the worst in baseball. It's bottom 5. But Carlos Carrasco has finished with more than 4 strikeouts in 2 starts all season long. So you may be heavy on him today, but I just want to understand why. Because like last game, eight scoreless frames, 4 strikeouts. He does, at this point, he pretty much needs to go deep into games and not give up runs, because you're not getting a 9 strikeout game for Carlos Carrasco.
Nope.
Not that you need one at 6,000. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean.
It's a price play. He's 6,200. He's at home. It's a pitcher's park. It limits power. It limits runs. The White Sox lineup is not all that great. Carlos Carrasco can go deep enough into the game. Seeing him go 8 innings against Arizona was helpful. I have 17%. We have him projected for 17%. I think he is sort of the guy that you want to go to save salary in a big way. You don't like it. I don't think he's very good. The strikeouts aren't there. It's usually the thing you're looking for. You're hoping that he goes 6 innings today and doesn't give up a home run. Like, that's sort of the dream in this one. If you get strikeouts, great. You're hoping that he just has like a day where he doesn't give up power.
Like 6 innings, 6 innings, 1 or 2 runs, 4 strikeouts, and a win.
Yeah, 180 x ISO, 180 x ISO to lefties, 162 to righties over the past 2 years. There are some spots in this lineup where, like, I'm not excited, but the park is going to help him a little bit. I don't want him. I wish I'd give anything to refresh this and not have Carlos Carrasco. He's not good. I don't have anything to justify this with. It's just his salary is in a nice spot for today.
It is. Yeah, it's 6,000. I get it.
It's only 81 degrees in New York. That's helpful, I guess, for him.
Oh, I totally get it. It's just gross. It's not as bad as Adam Wainwright or something like that. But
yeah,
it's rough, man. Yeah.
I'm sure I've got some other shitty guys that we'll talk about.
Well, let's do it. Before we do that, Lucas Giolito and bats from this game, where are you going?
I have a little bit of Giolito, nothing too crazy. The park again helps him out, but the Mets offense is really good. This isn't a spot where I'm trying to like pick against a team that, arguably the best 9 hitters on today's slate. I mean, you can tell me it's it's the Padres or the Dodgers or the Braves, and like that's all fine. I think they're all very similar. I don't like targeting the Mets. The only benefit for Giolito is the park. I have 7%, so he's fine. He exists. His ownership is about right. 11% chance to be a top 2 pitcher in our top pitchers tool lines up perfectly with his ownership. I think he's properly owned.
What about bats?
I have 1 share of Francisco Lindor, 1 share of Pete Alonso, 1 share of Yasmani Grandal, and 1 share of Gavin Sheets if he's in for the White Sox. I have not looked. That is it. This is for the run totals point to no. If you're going to go to either side, I mean, it kind of just feels like you would want to go to the White Sox just because Carlos Carrasco's the obviously worst pitcher and pulling a little bit more ownership. I don't know why you would want to target this game.
Well, I can tell you why we'd want to target this next game. San Francisco Giants, Cincinnati Reds,
Yeah.
Anthony DeSclafani, Luke Weaver. Weaver has, I mean, this is not good if you're Luke Weaver, allowing 2.09 home runs per 9 on the season. And it gets significantly worse when you look at his home splits. Look, home splits are actually relevant for pitchers and hitters when it comes to baseball. And Luke Weaver this year at home, the home runs per 9 on this guy are 2.95.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. 2.8. 2.8 home runs per 9.
Yeah.
For Luke Weaver. I mean, no surprise that the San Francisco Giants have the second highest implied total on the slate, second highest top stack probability, second highest stack score behind only Houston in this park, which is essentially Coors. Would you say it's mid? Is that considered Midwest? Like what is that considered?
I don't
Not
know.
The Northeast. What is it?
North Korea of the United States, Cincinnati,
Wasteland?
man. Yeah, who cares? I don't know, man. I don't even know where it is.
It's just Cincinnati, right? But
yeah, it's just who cares? We're not going there. Sorry, AB, if you have any family in Cincinnati.
But this guy gives up way too much power, strikes batters out at only 17%. There's not a lot of redeeming qualities here when it comes to Luke Weaver, and it's a pretty tough spot.
No, Luke Weaver pitching for Cincinnati is incredibly fitting. You should not be going to either pitcher today. Luke Weaver, Anthony DeSclafani, cross those names clean out. Here are the park factors for runs, righty power, and lefty power in Cincinnati via StatCast. 117 for runs, 128 for righty power, 140 for lefty power. Those are 3-year rolling averages. It is all offense, particularly in the middle of July. I don't have anything else to say about San Francisco. They're number 2 in our top stack. They're number 1 in top value, number 2 in ownership. I have no nuance for this. They have a massive implied total. Luke Weaver stinks. You want to get the Giants are free. Somehow they didn't price them up again. This is 2 days in a row that they are easy to get to. Can you imagine just like not pricing teams up for core? We've regressed. This is like a 4 years ago. We had better pricing on games like this than we do right now. So jam the Giants, use them as a full stack, use them as filler, find places to get different elsewhere in your lineup. But you're very clearly looking at one of the 2 best options today. There's nothing else for me to add when it comes to talking about the Giants.
I don't understand the price points at all.
There's 2 people in their lineup at 2,600 and 2,100.
So you know how we have a top value score on this top stacks tool?
Yeah.
How is it that the Giants are number 1 at 14.9? Pittsburgh is second at 9.1. You know this as well as anybody. Usually when you're looking at top value, it'll be like the Detroit Tigers or the Kansas City Royals or something like that. They provide value maybe in a good matchup because they're cheap and they're not good. There's no reason with a 6.3 team total that they should have almost double the top value score as any team on this slate.
Like, I don't know why Michael Conforto's 3,400 in general, let alone in Cincinnati today. I have their top value even higher than we do.
Right. Dude, the total in this game is almost, it's essentially even with Coors. It's 11 and 12.
Like they're playing on the moon.
Yeah. It's 11 and 12. It's crazy.
I think the more interesting piece of this game is talking about the Reds.
Yeah, sure. Let's get into it because they're kind of being ignored and they don't profile all that well in the top stack tool today because they are more expensive than San Francisco
by a mile.
by a
So
mile.
the most interesting piece of the Reds is the fact that Ellie De La Cruz does not have his MPE any longer. No longer shortstop eligible, just third base. So for anybody that have been playing him there, that doesn't exist any longer. Still has it on FanDuel, by the way, because I think they probably sleep before the season started. 207 x ISO to left-handed hitters for Anthony DeSclafani over the last 2 years. Just a reminder, 140 is the park factor in Cincinnati. By the way, 15% K rate and an 8% swinging strike rate. So let's just start there. Anthony DeSclafani does not get lefties out. That seems pretty good for half of the order for Cincinnati. It's not like he's out here mowing down righties. 21% K rate, 10% swinging strike rate, 180 x ISO. So the Cincinnati side looks really good to me. We have them 7th in top stack. I have them 4th. Now, every team is very clearly behind like the top 2 or 3, but I think Cincinnati sneakily might be like a team that I'm going to get a ton of. The highest owned guy we have right now is Ellie De La Cruz at 4%. I have 27 5-man stacks of the Reds. I will find a way to be cheap elsewhere. I think this is one of the 2 sneakiest spots. This is the quote unquote sneakiest spot that you can get to. I like a team with a little bit more upside somewhere else, which we'll get to, but I think the Reds are the team that I want the most today.
And by the way, we're 9 likes away from 100. Appreciate you guys. We will get there. We'll make quick work of that. For those of you that forgot, it's okay. Just a subtle reminder that we're still here and that like button needs some loving. What do your pitching duos look like in these Red stacks?
That's a good question. Let's find out. I'm all over the place. A lot of Brian Wu. I've got some Scooble, which might go away by the time I actually run everything. But let me just filter this down, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because it's going to look a lot different than many of those San Francisco stacks.
Yes, Brian Wu in most of it, and then it's just like a random number generator for everybody else. Bryce Elder, Chris Murphy, Giolito, Eovaldi, Musgrove, Carrasco, Sandoval, Scooble, Montgomery, Grove, Tyon, Lynch, Herman, Allen, Corbin, Medina. I've got basically Brian Wu, every other starter once, Red stacks.
Okay. Any expensive pitchers in there? I might have missed them if you did.
Not really.
Okay. So there you go. It's doable. It's just, it actually makes a lot more sense that they'd all be mixed up like that too, instead of just leaning on one shitty, cheap pitcher,
Yeah.
Give yourself more outs.
Let's see. Yeah. Like the Giolito lineup ends up filling out with like Brandon Crawford and Conforto. So it basically becomes a bit of a game stack. I've got one with Eovaldi in it that has Yasmani Grandal, Freddie Freeman. So that starts to fill out in a little bit of a different way. I see Acuna showing up pretty regularly in these sorts of stacks. So I'm finding enough money to go around. But if Ellie De La Cruz at 4% is really going to be the highest owned guy for Cincinnati today, this is a spot that is going wildly underrepresented.
How about with Arizona and Atlanta, where you've got a 10.5 run total here? Now, to be fair, a lot of that 10.5, a lot of that's going to the Atlanta Braves. You got an implied total north of 6 today. Meanwhile, Arizona's sitting at like 4.9 or something. Either way, a lot of this is going to Atlanta. They have the 3rd highest top stack probability in the top stack tool at 7.7. So pretty nice here. Slight negative leverage, but it's mostly a throwaway, minus 1%. Of course, the issue with this team, and similar to what you talked about with Cincinnati, Atlanta, and by the way, Houston's not that expensive either. So it's like Atlanta's in a great spot, Cincinnati's in a great spot, but both of them are pretty expensive.
So this is the other spot that I want to be. Atlanta. I want to pay up for Atlanta and Cincinnati and get the benefit of their pseudo lack of ownership. Now the Braves are getting a little bit more, but it's deceiving. That negative leverage is fake. 20% ownership coming into Ronald Acuna right now. That's basically like 70% of all, or 50% of all of the Braves ownership right now. So they're not owned as a stack as much as that negative leverage is showing. They're actually probably a positive leverage team if you take into account that Ronald Acuna is here. But it's another massive run total. Park factors point in the right direction for hitting here. 106 to righties, 114 to lefties for power. Zach Davies, not a very good starting pitcher. That's going to be pretty helpful. 160 x ISO, 170 x ISO. Doesn't strike lefties out at all. Great spot for like Matt Olson today. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go and hit a dinger. He's 7% owned. I'm happily paying up there. So between the Reds and the Braves, these are the two spots that I'm going at a lot right now. I have 22 5-man stacks for Atlanta. I want to attack Davies. I like getting to at least a little bit of Bryce Elder on the opposite side too at 7,800. Just another guy in that price range that is more than reasonable in a spot against Arizona. Not a lot of strikeouts, but should be able to pitch deep enough into this game if he's rolling. I just want a ton of Atlanta and a ton of Cincinnati. These two teams, to me, are the interesting teams to talk about after you just sort of understand that the Giants and Astros exist.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And those price points are going to keep people from getting there too, because it means they're going to have to go to some underwhelming pitching.
And I think like, I'd rather just go to underwhelming pitching and be like, okay, cool. Yeah. No one's rostering the Atlanta Braves. Yeah, I'll go with the best offense in baseball. And again, like it's a healthy dose of Brian Wu. It's Carrasco. It's Tyon. It's Patrick Sandoval. Somebody's going to hit. There's 28 pitchers going today. We're going to see a couple names that you're not really used to seeing at the top in terms of scoring. That's appealing to me.
Maybe I'm wrong, but this kind of feels like one of those slates where you should embrace an approach like that, where like Brian Wu and Bailey Ober are your two top options, but then Eovaldi has a tough matchup against Tampa. They lead the league in ISO against righties. He's north of 10K. Carlos Carrasco is your other guy. It's Carlos Carrasco, right? And then like Jordan Montgomery's a fine pitcher, but you're still paying north of 8K for him. And he's not electric. Miami isn't the highest strikeout team in the league. So like there's no one that really jumps off the page today.
No, I don't really have anybody that I look at and I'm just like, shit, I should go out of my way to like make sure
I should go cheaper
pitcher
with bats to get these guys everywhere. Yeah.
No. Like and the guys that I'm very heavy on today, the names that I want to be heavy on
aren't expensive.
I've got a lot of, I'm trying to fill out more with the Astros and the Giants. So like I'm very heavily exposed to Kyle Tucker, but I just need Kyle Tucker. I don't really need the Astros as much. Ozzie Albies is somebody 8% owned at 5,700. Like if people aren't going to get there, I'm going to take my chances there. I think that's the best way to get to the top of the contest today. So I assume the Giants and Astros just make it, just take it right off the plate. And they're just like, okay, here's 15 runs, jam the chalk.
But it is baseball.
Jesse will tweet about it immediately.
It is baseball though. And for what it's worth, they still have top stack probabilities of 21 and 10%. That's 30%. Yeah. So 70% chance that they're not the top stack combined.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like they're chalk for a very good reason, but they're not locks to be in all the winning lineups. It's baseball. So
yeah, there are very good offenses out there today. The Reds and Braves in particular that are going to be very interesting because they didn't get the benefit of being priced down. They're like, quote unquote, hard to get to.
Yeah. Let's talk about Miami and St. Louis here. I don't know how much
this show is about to get way less interesting for the next 6 games.
It's funny you said that because Adam and I was like, man, we might need to speed this up earlier this morning.
Yeah.
And then we just naturally sped it up because some of these games are kind of gross.
A lot of these are going to be very much like, well, they both stink.
Pretty much, yeah. Edward Cabrera, he doesn't stink. The guy's got wicked strikeout upside, but how deep is he going to be able to go into a game where you're paying almost 10K for him? Jordan Montgomery, fine spot here, getting a little bit of love in the top pitchers tool. As far as ownership goes, I should say, actually negatively leveraged play to 11.5, top 2 probability, 15% ownership, 5th highest owned pitcher on the slate. How much of these two guys are you getting to today?
A little bit of Montgomery. He's 15% owned. It's what I have. That basically matches the top pitchers tool. I have him as slightly negative leverage, but it looks solid here against the Marlins, and the park is good enough. Although it is 9 righties, that's a sea of righties against Jordan Montgomery. That's for sure. I don't have any Cabrera. 9,700 is just too expensive. The Cardinals are good enough. I mean, they've got a decent-ish run total at 4.4. It's not like you're getting Cabrera and it's down at like 3.7 and you could really go for it. So I don't have Cabrera because I don't think that he can go deep enough here at that price tag to matter. And if my choices are pay up for low-owned Edward Cabrera or pay up for the Reds or the Braves, I'm paying up for the Reds or the Braves, and I'm taking a shittier pitcher elsewhere. But for Montgomery, I think he's properly owned at 15%.
Any interest in bats here on either side?
Nope. I have 1 share of Lars Nootbaar and 1 share of Jorge Soler. That's just randomness. This is the number 21 stack and 24 stack. Neither one of them is in the top half of value. Montgomery's a good pitcher. Edward Cabrera is a good pitcher. He's just not really set up to be a great DFS option today, other than if he just goes crazy and strikes everybody out for 4 innings. If he's like Nick Pivetta, for instance. I don't want this game to do anything other than Jordan Montgomery to be decent.
Nick Pivetta, man, that's going to haunt your dreams.
It really is, dude. I mean, it's really Ohtani. I could get rid of him pretty quickly and not be mad about it. But Pavetta's going to stick in my... I like him the way that I like Andrew Wiggins right now. Wiggins did this to me in the NBA, so I will have the same sort of scorn for both of those men for a long time.
I'm going to buy you their jerseys.
That's cool, man. You always need toilet paper. I could use a Nick Pivetta jersey to wipe the Gatorade off of my mouth when I'm...
Man, people really love that. People really love that. They were crediting my camera work as well. What they don't know is that I backed up and was ready. The whole time. I'm not a huge social media guy. I know you're not really either. As far as posting everything you do with your life and shit.
No, not at all.
But with this, the first thing in my head was Josh is going to puke, because I knew the whole car ride down. It was like a 40-minute car ride. And every bump we hit, Josh is just like, mm-hmm. And when that was happening, I was like, I will be prepared for this. There's no way I missed this opportunity. And it's a live photo. If you actually go to my Twitter at Laffy_D, because we posted it a year ago. I posted it yesterday. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. At first, it popped up on my phone. So,
well, I'm walking the dog and I see it pop up in Slack, and you're like, 1-year anniversary of Chicago Luke. And I was like, who the hell is Luke? You must have edited it back to puke. Yeah, I was like, oh, I know what that means. So yeah, pulled that one up. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, the only thing that I remember is you being like, are you okay if I take a picture of this? I was just like, of course.
No, I asked if you're okay if I post it.
Oh, okay.
And you're like, yeah, dude. You go, that's great content.
It is.
Jordan, go to the bounce. Go on real quick. We got plenty of time. Go to the bounce photo. Go down, because I put it in a thread. That one's even better. Scroll down. You can see it. You know how on live photos, it'll bounce, or you can do the loop? You can put that effect in.
So good. So good.
Go up. Click on that. Go down. This one. There it is. There we go. Look at that beauty.
It's the best, dude. It's the best. And then I immediately went into Whole Foods and got a slice of pizza.
Yeah. Well, you just felt instantaneously better.
Yeah, it was fine. Everything was totally fine at that point.
Down.
I needed to get the demon out of my body. Once that was out, it was good. We were great.
Yeah, you needed to
expel the 3 of us then went, not too long after that, went and got wings and fries and beers and all sorts of stuff.
Left Wrigley in the 4th inning. What am I doing watching a meaningless Cubs-Mets game?
We stayed longer than we should have.
4th inning, yeah. Eric was pissed.
He was. Look, I had no regrets out of me at all. I had no interest in sitting around watching.
No. My only regret was paying for the ticket.
If in my mind, both starters sucked. If one of the starters was like a high-end starter, I'd have been more interested in watching them pitch until they came out. But
for sure,
that was not the case.
7
do you remember who it was?
I remember, but I can't. I don't know. Neither of them were even remotely decent arms at all.
Man.
I can go back and look, but so we got 7 down, 7 to go. By the way, Greg and Neil coming up after this. MLB Live Before Lock taking you guys all the way up to first pitch, so make sure not to go anywhere. Tampa Bay and Texas, Josh. Taj Bradley, Nathan Eovaldi. I mean, are you paying for Eovaldi today?
That's a great question. I'll let you know when I actually pull any of that up, because I was trying to find that stupid game log and then I couldn't remember what the date would have been.
July 17th, dude.
So that was the Mets.
Yeah, it was. I already got it.
Peterson,
so
Sampson.
And
that sounds right to me.
David Peterson.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Adrian
Scherzer was
Sampson.
the day before. Yeah. That's why we left.
Yeah.
That stinks.
Yeah. The game finished 3-2. Just a real snooze fest.
Yeah. I'm not sticking around for Adrian Sampson.
No. Let's talk about this Tampa, Tampa game. This would be a fun matchup. I mean, I would have stuck around for this one. Taj Bradley, Eovaldi, that could have been all right. Bradley's got some wicked strikeout stuff, 30% strikeout rate on the season. He's struggled a bit lately. He's also been extraordinarily unlucky this year. If you go back and look at his numbers, very unlucky. The problem is he might stay unlucky for one more day going up against Texas, in Arlington.
So I don't have much of either guy. I'm half the field on Eovaldi. I basically don't have Taj Bradley, and I don't normally get Taj Bradley either, which kind of bums me out, but I don't mind it as much here in a spot against Texas. This isn't the park for it, that's for sure. What's the weather like tonight? Doesn't matter, in a dome, obviously. So I have 1% of Bradley. I understand what the upside could be because the strikeouts are certainly there, but he does not go deep into games, and you need like a perfect storm for him to get to. You need him to stop walking dudes, really. I guess that's probably the easiest way to describe it. And then on the opposite side for Eovaldi, he's 10,300, and I'm making a decision where it's easier for me to get salary savings from pitching. I'd rather go to the Braves and the Reds than go to Eovaldi in this matchup. It's not like I want to target against Tampa. Like, this lineup is really good. This is a talented Tampa offense. So today is not a day that I mind not getting to Eovaldi. I think he's fine. And like I said, I have half the field. He grades out 13% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. So probably a little bit over-owned. That leads me to not want to get there as much. If I'm going to get anywhere, it's probably to Eovaldi, just because I think he's clearly the better option and can go deeper in the game. But I'm light on pitching here.
What about some Texas bats against Taj Bradley? If there's one thing that's been an issue, right-handed power.
Yeah.
But what do you have? Seager, Lowe, Jankowski. You have some righties. I mean, you have a decent amount of righties in this lineup. Couple switch hitting bats. I mean, is this a spot you want to get to try and pick on him a little bit, or are there just better spots out there?
It's certainly an interesting spot to get to that has no ownership at all. If you wanted to get to the Ranger side or the Rays side, like, I think they're under-owned as a collective, if that's a way that you wanted to take a stand. It's a favorable park. Obviously, you would rather go to the Rangers side than the Rays side just because of the talent from both arms. I'm not getting to either one of these teams. They're just, like, the Rangers are expensive, and I'm just getting to more of Cincy and Atlanta because they're just projected to have way more fantasy points. Similar story for the Rays. They're just 27. The Rays are 27th in value. The Rangers are 27th in value. These guys are expensive up and down the lineup. They are interesting pay up to be contrarian spots. No one's going to this game for hitting. If you want to try to get yourself 100K today on a 14-game slate, I don't think it's crazy to go to 2 teams like this that have talented offenses. You're going to fail way more often than you succeed, but it'll feel really good if they're the team that scores 10 plus runs.
Yeah, virtually unowned.
Yeah. And like, I have all these guys as like positive leverage individual hitters. You can build really nice stacks.
It is just really one of those unique spots because Taj Bradley has dealt with some power issues. I mean, he coughed up 4 home runs against Arizona just 3 starts ago. We've seen instances where home runs and power have been an issue. His last 3 starts, he's really struggled across the board, hasn't been able to work deep into those games and has gotten crushed. So, or he comes out and he looks like the Taj Bradley that just mows through opposing teams like he did before those 3 games. You just don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot in play for this particular game. because of the lack of ownership for hitting, this one really has a lot. Like, this one could really push people to the top if it breaks the right way. I don't have it, but I get it.
Let's talk about Trevor Williams and Jamison Tyon. 9.5 run total here. Washington plus 140 in this game. Two righties on the mound. I mean, we know that Trevor Williams is not going to be racking up 10 Ks anytime soon. And on the other side,
no.
Jamison Tyon getting a little bit of ownership, right? 8%. That's more than most pitchers on this slate. I guess really the question now is, like, while Washington is not a high strikeout team, we know that to be the case. They're also, they're similar to Cleveland just in the sense that they stink, but they don't strike out.
Is it not Corbin?
Okay, so earlier today it was Corbin. I saw it on DraftKings Sportsbook. Then they switched it, and MLB's official page had it as Patrick, or had it as Williams. Did it switch back?
MLB has Corbin right now.
Okay, that's what I had earlier. Jordan, you remember I had Corbin this morning, and then it changed up to Williams, like officially changed up to Williams as the listed probable on MLB.
Yeah.
And then I guess it went back to Corbin.
Yeah, I've got Corbin in at MLB.com right now.
Okay.
When you said Williams, like, what am I looking at?
No, you're that's how I felt this morning.
Okay.
Like, I thought I was going crazy because I just transcribed it from DraftKings Sportsbook and from MLB.com. So, okay, Corbin.
So don't roster Patrick Corbin.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good saying that one.
By the way, the odds only move from plus 150 to plus 140, and that would be why.
Yeah, so I'm not getting to Corbin. No one is. Not a very high ceiling in this one at all. Cubs with a decent run total. I'm getting to a bit of Tyon, 14% owned, or he's 8% owned. I have 14% at 6,800. He's around a 10% top two pitcher when you take the value into account. He's probably, like, to me, slightly under owned, and that's why I'm getting to 14% here. But I think the Nats stink. It's not a great strikeout matchup. That's really the only downside for Tyon. But 4.1 run implied total for the Nats, that's not all that scary to think about. If you look at the weather in Chicago, 73 degrees. So you're not getting like some sweltering heat. This is a decent spot to try to, like, if you're going to go to a pitcher in Chicago, there's not any Wrigley wind of any value. There's not hot weather. Today's sort of the day to try to go to Tyon with the Nats on the opposite side.
I get it. Look, you need him to throw you need him to go relatively deep and prevent and limit runs, and he can do it. Yeah. Or, look, a team that doesn't strike out a lot doesn't mean that they don't strike out ever. So it's possible he still has a strong game. He's cheap. I honestly think. Go ahead.
So his biggest issue is giving up lefty power, but in the Nats lineup, CJ Abrams projects with a 130 ISO, Dom Smith 140, Corey Dickerson 140, Luis Garcia 145. Candelario, my boy, could have used a little bit more out of you yesterday, but thank you for getting me to third. He's the one that has a little bit more pop. Ruiz, also a big hero for me yesterday, 150. There aren't any lefty bats in this Nats lineup. You're just like, oh shit. Juan Soto's not in this lineup anymore where you're like, uh-oh, he's probably going to take Tyon yard here. All of the weather and the park sort of fit Tyon a little bit better today because the Nats don't really have his kryptonite.
Should Carrasco have double the ownership of Jamison Tyon? I mean, they're not that much different. I know he's a little bit cheaper.
No, not at all. I think they're basically equal.
Yeah, and if you look at our top pitchers tool, we've got Carrasco at 17% ownership, 6% top two probability. So the likelihood that he finishes as a top two pitcher on this slate. On FanDuel, you'll just see it as top pitcher because you only roster one of them.
Yeah.
Especially if you're new to the tools, trying to understand these. Tyon, 8% ownership, 7% top two pitcher probability. So higher likelihood that he finishes as the top two pitcher than Carrasco. Half as much ownership. Makes it kind of interesting.
I have Carrasco top two pitcher 9%. I have Tyon 11. I have Carrasco in 17% of my lineups. I have Tyon at 14. And that's just, I think, basically just the $600 in salary that's affecting that. Right. I think they're basically the same. So that's another reason why I like Tyon, just because it is a slight ownership pivot. I just happen to be getting to both of them, but I like you pointing that out.
I mean, yeah, you're with the field on Carrasco, but you're also above the field right now on Tyon. That's what matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
By the way, if you want access to these tools and you're lucky enough to be in a state that has BetMGM, you're getting all of them for free. It's like we do some decent promos out there, and there's some certain sports books that have decent promos. The partnership we have at BetMGM, you're getting $120. If you were to go over to stochastic.com right now and you were to sign up and you wanted to go Stochastic plus Platinum for the month, everything, right? The MLB lineup generator, PGA lineup generator, but MLB top stacks tool, top pitchers, top hitters, ownership, player projections. You wanted to get all of our MMA tools, all of our PGA tools, all of our NASCAR tools, everything for, tennis projections, soccer, everything, you name it, you're paying $120. If BetMGM is in your state, you're getting it for, well, we'll say $10, because all you have to do, you click the link in the description or in chat. Jordan can throw it in chat. Put $10 in BetMGM and bet it on whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't even have to know betting. I wouldn't recommend just throwing this money away, because BetMGM has the first bet insurance up to $1,000 anyway. So anything you bet, you get back if you lose, but you'd still like to build a bankroll. But even if you lose that, it's $120 value. If you've been sitting on the fence going, God, I'd like to use these tools. They're always talking about them. I see the screen. Our boy Peter Hanley just took down 50K yesterday. I know you, or the other day. I know you saw that. The guy that, as unhappy as you are about it, the dude that ended up winning that tournament that took you out of first place was a premium member in our Discord that took down $100,000 yesterday. Yeah. So using the tools, and who knows, maybe they used the BetMGM promo for all I know. If they did or didn't, it doesn't matter. But it's literally $10. Bet $10. Link in the description. Sign up. Takes a minute to sign up. Throw your bet down. Once that settles, you got everything on our site for free. I mean, not much more I can say about it.
You know what's really interesting? If he didn't use that, but he is in a legal betting state, he's going to get a month for Hall of Fame right out of the gate. Oh, yeah,
that's right.
So he can get a month for Hall of Fame, and now he's got a bankroll. So now that he can go load up BetMGM, if he's in a legal betting state, throw 1,000 in there, fire off that first one, get it back on the off chance that it goes wrong. Like, he could take some risks now, but he's going to have 2 months of Stochastic if he wants it, fully across the board for everything. That'll take him all the way into the NFL season, and the chance to just fire off $1,000 bet with essentially zero problems. And if it wins, great, you move forward. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But like, he just put himself in a really nice spot after yesterday. And I didn't, because I have less money now than him.
And if you guys hate it, I mean, you're down $10 at the end of the day, or you're not, because you won money on BetMGM. But the $10, what, 33 cents a day or something like that? Check it out. Come join us. Oh, and you're getting into our premium Discord as well. So link in the description and in chat. If you're lucky enough to be in a state with BetMGM, put that 10 down, bet it. Get all of our tools for free for the entirety of the month and the premium Discord. And send some screenshots when you win so we can throw them up here and do the bragging for you.
When North Carolina goes live in January or whatever, the BetMGM promo is going to be like, get a free $4. Like, damn it.
No, we're having a party when it does, man. We're going to have some fun. You've been waiting on this.
So I don't know if the party, I don't know if Katie's going to be invited. She's not probably going to be stoked about this one.
No.
Hey, babe, I bet. Let's put $1,500 on if this next pitch is a ball.
Oh, dude, flash betting, that stuff's dangerous.
Hon, you want to play Buffalo slots on the big screen today?
Yeah, I'm done with slots, dude. I got into it for a while. Yeah. I'd hit like 5K. And I won where my daughter, she was young. She's 2 now, but she was like, she couldn't sleep. She was sick. So I just laid on the bed on the ground next to her crib, because she was struggling that night. And I'm just down there fucking betting international basketball and rolling the triple diamonds. And I hit for 5K on the triple diamonds, like an $18 spin.
It was gone in 15 minutes.
Actually, this one I go, not today. Close out of the app. I'm all excited. Next day, she's still sick. I pull it up. Just get wrecked.
Yeah,
it can be dangerous, dude.
I fully blame Ben Raza. He is the specific and unequivocal reason that I have ever touched these things. He is a terrible influence. Watch PGA Live before lock in 2 hours.
That was during COVID. Yeah.
Well, when I was producing his shows, man, I'd load up money every single time he was doing the Tuesday golf show.
Is live before lock tonight for PGA?
It is. Yeah, it is. Because lock is at 1 a.m. or whatever, because it's the Open on Thursday. So I think it's today, right? Or am I wrong?
I would think it's tomorrow. I don't know.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Never mind. Watch live before lock tomorrow. I'm a moron. Yeah.
Detroit and Kansas City. Scooble, Daniel Lynch, two southpaws toeing the rubber for Detroit and Kansas. What's that?
If you're 21 plus, you're too old for love.
You do it, Jordan. Do it. You're telling me how to do my job, man. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Must be 21 years or older to gamble. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Change the scene, Jordan. Go to a one shot. Change to the lower. You see how that feels? It's not that great, is it?
Detroit and Kansas City. You like pitching here? All right.
I mean, I don't know what to do with Scooble. I really don't, because it's a really good strikeout matchup here against Kansas City. The implied total for the Royals is not very good. Scooble went 4 innings on the 4th. He went 4 innings again on the 9th. Can he go 5 or 6 if he's cruising? Because if he can, I like this. I got him in for 5 innings. I have 21% Scooble right now. I'm going to take my chances here that he can be at least a little bit more stretched out than he had been over the previous 2. The park's great. There's no power to be found in Kansas City, at least from a park perspective. I mean, it limits it big time. If he can go out and mow some of these dudes down, this is a really nice spot for him. So he's 14% owned. I have 21. I'm interested. I've got a small amount of Daniel Lynch, like 5%. I don't have much to say. You guys know, I've said it ad nauseum so far in this show. I'm going after a lot of the expensive bats. So guys like Daniel Lynch are just showing up in some stuff for me. It's always interesting when the Tigers are on the opposite side. Both of these offenses, not very good.
No, not at all. We had a question too from Ryan. What's up, Ryan? Important point about Giants Reds. They're just now resuming yesterday's game, that suspended game. How will that affect today? Honestly, dude, what?
It won't.
Yeah, it's if this was suspended in like the 5th inning or like it's actually, if it's a 5th inning,
it won't matter.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying it's the 8th. It doesn't, like, it's hardly any baseball at all.
I don't even care if it's a full day. I wouldn't have different projections if they played a doubleheader today.
I guess people were wondering, like, what would if the lineups would be out in time. You know, because it's 5:50 right now. But I'm saying I don't see any reason to think that the lineups would be considerably different when these guys are playing an extra. Well, unless it goes deep into extras, like that could make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not changing anything that I'm doing.
There's nothing actionable anyway that you can do. That's the problem.
No, like I don't. You got to play the game on both sides. Well, I mean, I'm playing the game on both sides, but like you can't avoid it.
Yeah,
you just play it.
You like any bats from Detroit or Kansas City, or do you want to talk about this Houston game?
I mean, they're both interesting for opposite reasons. The Kansas City stack is the worst stack that exists, but they've got some value. The Tigers are a little bit better, but I think both teams look really bad, so I don't have them.
All right. Malik, I'm still trying to figure out the tools. Yo, Steve Buzzard does an awesome Q&A. A lot of these guys do great stuff in Discord to help you out a ton. If you ever have any questions, hit anybody up. Happy to help you out. Some of these tools can be, at first there's a bit of a learning curve, but once you get it, it's easy and you won't forget it. Houston and Colorado. I don't know how much time we need to spend in this game. Houston right now in the top pitchers tool, in the top pitchers tool has a 21.1% top stack probability on a 14-game slate, Josh. Absolutely massive implied total at Coors Field.
Yeah, really like Jake Bird today going for the rock. Now, obviously not true. If you want to go to Hunter Brown, think it's reasonable at 6%, 8,100, but doesn't seem like the time that you really need to just go crazy for him. But the price tag works if you like it. He's 6% owned. Seems about right to me.
Is Jake Bird just opening though? I mean, he's.
I think so.
He hasn't pitched more than an inning since the 20 in a month, and that was 2 innings.
Whatever Colorado rolls out there today, I don't think they're going to be pitching more than an inning or
It
two
doesn't
because
matter. It doesn't matter. You're right.
I mean, Houston, the park plays up power. It certainly plays up runs. This Houston lineup is good, not great. There are pieces of it that are elite. Your Bregmans, your Tuckers, but there's some power elsewhere. It's just an incredible run scoring environment. I mean, their implied total is just on a different level than everybody else. They're the number one team in top stack. They're the number one team in my top stack. They are the highest owned team on the slate. They should be. How you handle that is sort of up to you, where you want to be different for the rest of your lineup. But it is very, very clear that the Giants and the Astros are the two top stacks for today. And I don't have any information that I can give to say that that's not a true statement. I've got a bunch of Houston, and I would like to have them in my lineups because these guys are in a great spot. There's not a lot to slow them down at Colorado.
Do you have any interest in Colorado bats?
I do not. Hunter Brown is good. The Rockies aren't, although, they're usually a little bit better in Colorado, but this is not the same thing as like wanting to go to the Reds. There's not as much upside in Colorado. Right. So I don't have them. I have one random Nolan Jones lineup, but I am not on Colorado today.
Yeah. The amazing thing about Colorado is this used to be a team that even when they were bad, they were really good at home.
Yeah.
They're not really good at home anymore. They're just really bad.
No. And it's not like, I mean, Hunter Brown strikes out 28% of hitters this year. 150 ISO to lefties is like a little high. It's 111 to righties. Nobody's touching him up. Like this is a really bad spot. I'm honestly a little surprised that Hunter Brown isn't getting a little bit more love. He just doesn't go deep enough into the games, but I don't mind going there at 8,100 if he's not owned. That's a nice mid-tier price if you just don't believe in Colorado. The only problem here really is just the park itself.
How do you feel about Domingo Germán and Patrick Sandoval? Sandoval 7,500, so another one of those kind of lower mid-range price points. Germán at 8,700. The Angels on the active roster have a strikeout rate that's sitting, borderline top 10 or bottom 10, depending on how you look at it, around 23%. The Yankees are sitting at 20th at 21.6%. Can you believe that? It's crazy. I know they've dealt with some issues, but 81 WRC plus on the active roster for Yankees against right. Fortunately, this is, a left-handed matchup, but I was just looking at that for the Yankee or for the Angels against Germán. But man, there's been some struggles there, dude.
So I'll start with Germán. The last time that I was quite a bit under the field, it worked out really well for me. He went 9 strong and gave up no hits and threw a perfect game, and that put me into second and third. It would have been first, but Shohei Ohtani got me again on that one. So that gentleman is not helping me in any way. But
Adam and I were looking at. I think it's like the first perfect game in over a decade.
Yeah, it worked out really well for me. Not as well as I needed it to, but like pretty well.
Yeah.
That said, I have 3% Germán. It's a really nice strikeout matchup, and the strikeouts have been there. He struck out 9 in 2 out of his last 3. A little bit more expensive than I'd like him to be. I think he's properly owned. I am getting to Sandoval, though. 7,500 on the opposite side. Yankees lineup is solid. There are some problematic spots. They are running out 8 righties. That is certainly not the most fun thing in the world, but Sandoval doesn't really get hit by righties. He's thrown 3,200 pitches to righties over the past 2 seasons. He's got a 134 X ISO. He's got a 14% swinging strike rate, 327 X WOBA. He seems to be able to handle it. And in Yankee Stadium, for him, this is good. Righty park factor for homers is 104. For lefties, it's 123. So being a lefty pitcher here, I don't know why I'm saying Yankee Stadium, in the Angel Stadium, whatever the hell it's called. Do you know what it is?
Angel Stadium. I believe
Obviously.
It's just Angel without the S at the end.
Don't know why I said Yankee Stadium, but in the Angel Stadium, this is the perfect spot for him because he doesn't have to worry as much about the lefty power. It's only Anthony Rizzo that's really going to stand out as an issue. So he's only 5% owned at 7,500. This is the spot where I'm trying to save a little bit more salary. So I have 17% Patrick Sandoval. That's probably a little bit too much, but I'll take my chances in this spot because I don't think this park is as scary for him with this particular Yankees lineup. It's 80 degrees. That's not all that worrisome. So Sandoval actually is the thing that I'm most interested in here.
The last perfect game before Domingo Germán was 2012. There were 3 of them in 2012. Can you name 2 of them?
King Felix.
Yeah.
2012. That's too late for Mark Burley, right?
Yeah, but that was 2009, I think.
Okay.
Yep, 2009. Can you name 3 between 2009 and 2012? There were 6. Yes, you can.
No, I can't.
I'll give you a hint.
Randy Johnson. I don't know, man. I smoked all these memories away.
I'll give you a hint. He has since perished.
I can't get to a joke fast enough.
Why would you joke?
Roy
Halladay.
Oh, yeah, that's not even who I was thinking. I was thinking Jose Fernandez.
I figured you were thinking that. Yeah.
I don't have the memory anymore.
Dallas Braden, pretty sure that was on Mother's Day too. Roy Halladay, Philip Humber.
Twins? Yankees?
Matt Cain.
Hmm.
And Felix Hernandez. Then 11 years until Domingo Germán. Let's talk about Boston and Oakland. So I don't think we're going to be getting a whole lot of pitching ownership from Boston today, as we did last. What's
just
that?
Roll out whoever the hell they roll out is probably going to K12.
Yeah, you're just gonna throw them in every lineup.
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to get that kind of performance out of Pivetta yesterday either. So maybe we shouldn't hand wave this. By the way, I have Chris Murphy right now.
Yeah, I think Pivetta though, Pivetta at least had some strikeout stuff, you know.
Dude, if he gave up 1 hit, it would have gave me $15,000.
Yeah, I hear you. 13
That's all
Ks.
I needed, man. 1, just a hit.
Damn, dude. 13 Ks and 87 pitches, 6 frames. You are getting the little Murphy here, just in case.
Yeah, I have 10% right now. Maybe I have to dig in a little bit to how deep he's going to go into this game. But obviously, this is strikeout friendly. It's a great park for limiting runs, limiting power. What's really happening here is that I have a lot of the Braves and I have a lot of the Reds, and I need cheaper pitching. So it's not like I like it, but maybe it'll just happen again and I can benefit from it today.
You get into any Luis Medina?
I have 3%.
So around the field.
Yeah, a decent enough value option here against Boston, but there's a lot of power there. Park helps, but I don't want to target. Like, he's not good. I don't know why you would want to get a lot. He's a solid enough value.
Any bats you want to dig into here before we get to this last game?
Not really. Oh, by the way, I didn't say it yesterday or on the previous game, but like I've got a shit ton of Shohei Ohtani today at 6,400. If he's 3% owned, he's a fantastic one-off option. That shouldn't be confusing to anybody. The most I have of anybody is 3% of a couple of these Red Sox bats. They are 4th in top stacks, 6th in top value, 5th in ownership. I'm lower on the Red Sox, clear across the board. This isn't a park that I like to attack. Medina's not bad enough that I want to get there. I like the run total for Boston, but I'm finding myself not getting to the Red Sox, even though they are very cheap. Don't play the A's, obviously.
Wrap this one up with Minnesota and Seattle. Then we'll turn the page. Hand this one over to Neil Orfield and Greg Ehrenberg. Real quick, though, guys, I meant to mention this earlier. If you're not in a state with MGM, banging your head against the wall, like, nothing good ever happens to me. My life sucks. I wanted a free month. Well, the MLB lineup generator is $4.48 for the first week, and the boys have been crushing with the lineup generator, Josh. I think that's a decent consolation. Less than $4.50 for your first week for the MLB lineup generator. We've had some huge wins from all of our subs recently. LP Focus with the big one took it down with the lineup generator, and a bunch more that Jordan has up there. Silverback, not a full bink, but made it possible with the PGA lineup. We had another one today that probably isn't up there. It was like $500 on nickel contests out of 136,000 people that he took first place, paying it off in a blink of an eye. And look, you get the optimal scores, the projections. You see how chalky or contrarian every lineup is. You can swap players in. You can take them out. I would recommend not going too crazy with that, but you can set your stack types. Save as many lineups as you want. Discard the ones you don't like. Upload them straight to CSV on the DraftKings or FanDuel, or you can do it from your phone. It's optimized for mobile. But more than anything, Josh, it's probably going to build better lineups than you're building by hand. And this is no insult to anybody, but it's already throwing out all of the bad lineups.
Yeah, it's a fantastic tool that you could acquire for a very, very cheap price at this point. Um, it I can't imagine not wanting to just start there to see what we have.
Yeah.
It's such a great way to get in the door and know that you're not getting garbage right out of the gate. It's if you're like a 1, 2, 3 lineup type person, this is the tool that is going to make you better at DFS. Like I'm very comfortable in saying that. Like you might not see that in 20, a week or a month, or up to 20. Yeah.
Yeah. Like in the $1, you know, and those, yeah.
Yeah, you want if you pay $20 a day, you're getting into the I don't know what it's called in baseball, but like it's the and one in the NBA. Like, yeah, that's a great way to put a 20 lineup group together, and I have no doubt in my mind it's better than the 20 you were making before.
Yeah, link in the description. Like I said, chat to $4 less than $4.50. If you hate it, you're down less than $5, but it's well worth the test drive. And who knows, maybe you'll have a screenshot for us along the way as well that we can throw up here for you on top of it. Check it out. Link in the description and chat. Brian Wu, Bailey Ober. Let's wrap this one up, Josh. Massive ownership going to both of these guys, specifically Brian Wu. What does your exposure look like to these two pitchers tonight?
Okay, so I've got a ton of Wu. 7,900. Lots of strikeouts in this Twins lineup. Although I'm going to be honest, I haven't cross-referenced. We did get the Twins lineup since this show has started. I have not cross-referenced that yet. I assume all of these strikeouts are going to stay here, and I'm going to continue to like it. Yulien's still in there, Kirilloff's still in there, so that's all fine. Buxton's still in there. No Buxton, so that actually brings the strikeout rate down, but, you know, it's Buxton, so he's actually good. I'm going to get to a ton of Wu. He's my most exposed pitcher. I have 61% right now. I am under the field on Bailey Ober. I tend to be. I've seen him get a lot of ownership. I think he's wildly over-owned. We have him at 12% top 2 pitcher, 20% owned at 9,100. It is a little bit more interesting, though. No Julio Rodriguez in the lineup for Seattle is going to make this spot look a little bit better for Ober. But right now, I am fading Ober and jamming Wu. And I'm clearly not rostering either side of this for hitting.
Yeah, 7-run total, by far the lowest on the slate. Wu, your highest owned pitcher by a long shot, by a mile?
61 for Wu. Scooble at 21 is the most I have of anybody else.
There you have it. Hey, before we go, favorite stacks not named. Well, I think I already know. I was going to say not named Houston and San Francisco. Is it Cincy and Atlanta?
It is.
Yeah. Favorite pitchers here not named Brian Wu.
I'm just going to go based on the guys that I have. So that's going to be Scooble. Patrick Sandoval is an answer that I'm comfortable giving as like a guy that I'm getting to that nobody else is. And then I don't mind going to Tyon if you're looking to save some salary. Because of the way that I'm rostering my hitters, I'm going to value pitching.
All right. Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. Hit that thumbs up, but don't go anywhere. Oh, damn. We're almost at 200 thumbs up. Good stuff. Appreciate you guys. Follow Josh at Josh Engleman, me, _D. Shout out to Jordan for producing, and Greg and Neil coming up next, taking you up to lock on Live Before Lock. Good luck, everyone. Peace.
Malakar says he likes the purple shirt. I'm going to have to send this YouTube link.
Yo, it's that time of week again. Time to induct some of you wonderful people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame here, and also give away a whole bunch of free subscriptions to Stochastic Plus Platinum, $120 value, and all you got to do to get in on this fun, crowning achievement, gather the family around, say, honey, I'm in the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Come watch. They're about to announce my name. Go to stochastic.com/avatar. Download the Stochastic profile picture. Tweet your wins when you win at Stochastic HOF on Twitter and win a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Get inducted right here. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and boom, you are in. Just like our friend Zach Skaggs, the elusive, the ever elusive double win. Thank you to the crew and all the tools over at Stochastic. Not getting the free month, but representing Stochastic here. I can appreciate that. 2,250 here in the squeeze and the line drive. Shout out to Zach for a really nice day. And our friend Kenneth Malakar. I don't know what to say. I want to thank all you guys for all the good advice, not to mention all of you guys in chat. Great community of people. Finally, the Hall of Fame, 3rd out of 7,400, $1,000 for a boy who has supported the channel and the site for a long time now. Congrats, Kenneth. We love to see it. And Timmy, first off, Laffy, I'm gonna be up here a lot now, so get it down. The TX is like a CH. So basically, Cha Kiang. Listen, dude, I'm gonna be doing this a lot as well, and I can assure you I will not get this down anytime soon. But congrats to Timmy. Love to see it. But man, not a lot to most y'all, but I'm gonna say this. I know nothing about golf, but making nice finishes goes to show you how it's getting done. Pay the man $800 and a free month of Stochastic. Congrats, Timmy. I'm just kidding. Timmy Chakiang. And then how about Derby status or Perez status? Second day playing DFS, and I shipped the $1 25K mini max for $2,500 and placed second in the $3 MLB 20K moonshot for $1,000. All thanks to Stochastic and the guys there with the great insight and the MLB lineup generator. $4.48 for your first week. You know it. Link in the description, baby. Keith, I'm gonna need a punch card at this rate. Yeah, he's been here. He's been up a lot lately. Keith, $300 in the 7,500 solo shot. Next up is Matt. Shout out to the team at Stochastic for helping me out last night. 350 win there in the 10K Wednesday MLB pinch hit. And we keep moving forward with David Colasanto. Almost hit a 4-figure payout twice in a week. I'll settle for second place and a $200 ROI. Thanks again for the advice. Hell yeah, man. Second place out of 7,100 in the mini max. Take that all day long. And Nate Larson, not enough entries to qualify for the free month, but shout out to the lineup generator. 2 of the top spots. I've said it a million times, guys, whether it's high stakes, low stakes, we got you covered. Just like internet points or it's depletes. Not quite enough to retire early, but who needs that when there's the Stochastic Hall of Fame? See this $25 and $8.50 in the nickel, $600 prize pool, first out of 14,000. But as long as it's top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and you're not chopping more than 3 ways, you're in. $120 free month. What better way to do it than that in some of these low stakes contests? Shout out to It's the Plates 99 and everybody else. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. You've now been inducted, or welcome back if you've been here before. Remember, download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF and get that free month and get inducted every single Monday right here in the Hall of Fame.
You don't have to worry about me making fun of you for nonsense. What is happening, everybody? It is Tuesday. We've got a big baseball slate. We've got a Coors Field game to talk about, and Neil Orfield and I about to break down all of it for you. So if you could be so kind to us, favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you want access to all the data and tools we have over at Stochastic.com, I've got a couple easy ways for you guys to get access to it. Number one, tweet us at StochasticHOF. If you have a big win and you have the Stochastic avatar, you can get nominated into our Stochastic Hall of Fame, which is going to get 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Or we are sponsored today by BetMGM. And when you guys sign up at BetMGM with the link that we have below, that also gets you 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. By the way, your first bet also risk-free. You get bonus bets up to $1,000 if your first bet loses. It doesn't have to be $1,000. It could be as cheap as $10, and you still get that refunded in bonus bets. But still, Lots of good stuff there and a couple of cheap ways for you guys to get access to the tools and data we have over at Stokastic.com. So if you want to sign up at BetMGM and you haven't done it already, use our link so you get that 1 free month. Neil, what is happening? I haven't seen you for a minute. Softball last week, did they let you back on the team?
They let me back on the team, Greg. I was ready for this. I want to show you my trophy. I won a trophy, MVP of my team last week in a big win.
No, okay, whoa. Pull that back up again.
So it's a back cross. Our team super fan.
That is used to fight vampires. That is not a softball trophy.
I can see how you would think that. I don't know why he made us a back cross. It was kind of an interesting decision, but our team super fan is a welder, and in welding, he was learning to weld last year, I guess, and he made us this back cross, and then it was lost for a while, and then it came back mid-season this year. Somebody found that they had the weekly trophy, and for the first time, they decided to give it to the winning pitcher last week.
Is the season over then?
We have one more game. We are going to face the best team in the league for a third time.
And there's no playoffs in your league, correct?
There's no playoffs. We are currently in third place. I think we're locked into third place. Maybe we could get as high as second, depending on how last week went. I'm not totally sure, but I think we're mostly locked into third place.
All right. So Neil's got his third place trophy there, made by a welder. So what makes this guy a super fan of your team? What is his connection to you and your friends that play softball?
He comes to our games, makes him a super fan. So he's a high school friend of the guy who brought us all together. So the guy who manages our team is my lifelong friend. I've known him my entire life, but I didn't go to high school with him. He grew up in the cities, so it's a bunch of his friends from high school, and then like me and my brother and people from our family friends group were late additions to the team. So I think it's just the guy who went to high school with my friend.
So right away, though, I have to say, because people think that I'm shitting on the trophy in chat, which is absolutely not what I'm doing by any means. And I'm about to prove to you how effective and great I think that trophy is.
Yeah.
Since you got that trophy last Thursday, how many vampires have you been attacked by?
I've been attacked by 0 vampires. It's been an odd week for me, not getting any vampire attacks.
Seems like a pretty effective trophy. If that trophy is designed by an actual professional welder to keep away the vampires, which I assume are sweeping the Midwestern region, job accomplished. Neil no longer has to worry about any kind of vampire attack. So congrats on your third place finish, Neil, or the presumed third place finish, assuming you've got all of the checks and balances correct in the standings. It could get complicated. You don't know the tie break scenarios and what divisions everybody's in, what settles the tie breaks. But it seems like Neil is finished in third place and no more vampires in his life, which we do love to see. But we've got a pretty big slate here. And I just want to know, like, coming into this, what is your mindset on the slate? Do you have any overarching thoughts? Because one thing that I think we kind of need to talk about right away is that we have a Coors Field game. And if anybody watched the video that I put up on Twitter where I did my initial run through the Sims and showed everybody the results, I'm getting to just a metric shit ton of the Houston Astros. Like, this is the most exposure I've probably gotten to a team really ever this entire year, running everything through the Sims and looking at all of our data here. Is it similar for you? And I'm just wondering also, like, how do you differentiate those lineups, or just think like, hey, play the chalk and you're cool with it?
Yeah, so I'm currently running my crunch in Fantasy Crunch. I was not able to finish it. I was halfway through, and then we got the news that Rafael Devers was out of the lineup. So I'm still doing it. How I approached it, so I did my usual thing of I gave everybody their ownership projection plus 2% is generally my approach for individual player projections, and then close to how we project team stacks. The one exception I made, this is, I think, one of the few times that I've actually adjusted slightly. I actually gave the Astros a little bit higher potential stack ownership exposure in my crunches, which I think will actually probably lead me to fewer Astros. It sounds counterintuitive, I guess, but once you see, it'll make them look a little bit higher owned in the tools, in the Sims tool, and then as a result, I'll probably get a little bit less of the Astros, just because I'm a little bit worried, like how good they look in the tools. I'm a little bit worried that they might get more steam than we're expecting. It's probably not going to happen. I think I'm certainly happy to get to a lot of the Astros in Coors Field. It's just like when we had the Yankees in Coors Field. When you get a great team that is batting in Coors Field, it's obviously a great hitting environment. So I'm interested to see if I will end up getting like reduced Astros ownership because I gave them a little bit more overall ownership than than we haven't projected for.
It's funny. So one thing that I'm going to say is, because you mentioned the ownership and how these things could look different over the course of the day. So the Astros, by far the team I get the most exposure to, the only team I have a significant amount of exposure to as a stack. But if anybody watched my video that I posted earlier on Twitter, at the point in time, I think I had 82 or 83%, something along it. It was low 80%, the stacks that I was getting to the Houston Astros. At that point in time, they were projected for 15% ownership as a team. Since then, their ownership has come up to 18%. So just to give people a little perspective, because I found it to be interesting. The difference in the amount of Astro stacks I got when they were projected for 15% ownership compared to 18% ownership, nothing else really changing. The difference was me getting to low 80% of Houston Astro stacks, and now I'm at 65%. So still a ton, but I did get 17% less of Astro stacks just because the team is projected for 3% more ownership as a team. Those little changes in data, it goes to show how big of a difference 3% ownership could actually end up making when I'm sorting all our lineups through the data and tools here. If you guys want access to the Sims tool, we do have a link for that below in the YouTube comments. So go check that, click on that below if you want to go sign up for it. Any other thoughts you have on the slate? If not, Neil, we could start talking about some of the pitching.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned like it seems like we have some stacks that look really good today. We don't really have the same as far as pitchers go. Like the pitching is very flat in terms of top 2 pitcher odds. So I'd say that is the biggest thing that stands out to me, is that like none of the pitchers like really stand out to me as must-have spots, whereas some of these stacks just look incredible.
And the other thing too is now we start to talk about the pitching options here. The 2 most popular pitchers are pitching against each other in the same game, and one of them from your favorite team here, Neil. The Minnesota Twins, Bailey Ober, he's projected to be 23% owned. And then we've got Brian Wu of the Seattle Mariners, who is woefully underpriced basically every single time he pitches. The guy does nothing but put up good starts. And yeah, he's yet to be priced above 8K on DraftKings. I was just looking through his historical pricing that gets logged here in Fantasy Cruncher. And in all of his starts this year, he has recorded at least 17 fantasy points, and he's been priced below 8K in every single one of those starts. So guys perpetually mispriced. As a result, he continues to be really popular. I don't think there's been a single slate with Brian Wu on it over the course of the last month and a half that he's not been one of the most popular pitchers on the slate. So let's start by talking about him, and talking about him particularly on DraftKings, where he's projected for 40% ownership. Honestly, well, like you said, we don't have very many great pitching options. We've got one great offense. You got this cheap pitcher in Brian Wu who enables you to get up to the Houston bats without any issue. How are you going to handle Wu in large field tournaments?
Well, I'm going to see what the Sims give me is the honest answer, the ultimate answer. If I were building in my classic way, I would try to be underweight to the field on Wu, even with he's clearly mispriced. Like I don't understand what DraftKings is doing here, keeping him below 8,000. But even with this, we have him at 40% projected ownership, 16% chance of being a top 2 value, even at 7,900. So he still doesn't like scream as like the top value by a mile, and 18% chance of being the top 2 pitcher overall. So I would guess that I'm going to end up underweight to the field, or that would be like using my classic approach. I would end up underweight to the field on Brian Wu, but he does look great. Like there's no denying. And we, as we've said many times, more willing to eat the chocolate pitcher, get different with bats. So I'm not going to care. Like unless I get to like 80+% of Brian Wu, I'm probably not going to do anything to like downwardly adjust him. If I were building in my classic sense, actually, I probably would have a cap at like 40%. So I'd probably end up like right with the field using my classic approach. I'll be interested to see what I get, but I'm curious what you guys, as somebody who's already run the Sims.
Yeah, really close to the field on him, almost exactly even. I do have a ton of contrarian pitchers that I have mixed in. So here's how my lineups ultimately look different. It's not with the Astros stacks, clearly. It's not with Brian Wu, also clearly. He's projected for 40% ownership, right around where I landed up. I think he's a really good option. Cash games, no brainer today. DraftKings, I think he's the best points per dollar play on the slate. In fact, we have him projected as the top pitcher of the entire day. If you look at all of our projections, just raw projections, we've got him projected for the most fantasy points. If you look at our projections, they're looking at range of outcomes. He's projected with the best odds to be a top 2 scoring pitcher of anybody on the slate. 16.7% chance to be a top 2 scoring pitcher, 14.7% chance to be a top 2 value pitcher. Even when you go and look at FanDuel, he's slightly more expensive, but still they've kind of fucked up his pricing there. Brian Wu projects as the best pitcher for us on FanDuel as well at $8,100, 26% projected ownership there. I find him really difficult to get away from. I think the ownership is more or less correct. I assume that's what you're going to wind up with as well, Neil, is somewhere around even with the field on Brian Wu. So I like getting to him. I have some ways I'm differentiating my lineups, but it's not going to be with Wu at pitcher. It's hard to go out and say, like, I want to get to 80% of him and be well overweight to the field. So we'll talk about some other pitchers to differentiate with, but I think he's a really strong option.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly a really strong option. The Twins strike out a lot. He has been just a great strikeout pitcher for a few years now. I mean, this is obviously the first year that we're seeing him in major leagues. But I was, where am I? the strikeout rate has been like north of 30% for the past few years. So like it seems to be real. Yeah. 31% this year, was 34%. I guess that was double A this year, but then last year, 31% in A ball, 34, I guess A plus. I don't really know the difference between A and A plus here, but 31% and 34% in 2022. Not counting that 53%, whatever CPX is. These are leagues that I'm not familiar with, but he's just been crushing it as a strikeout pitcher. It's come down slightly in the major leagues, as you would expect, but 30%, 31% at 7,900 is just ridiculous.
Yeah, really, really strong option. I definitely recommend that you guys go out and get to him. And then we start to look at some of the other pitchers, Neil. And here's one other place that I am differentiating. I think you might not be thrilled with this. I'm well underweight to the field on Bailey Ober, hardly getting any exposure to him. And I think Bailey Ober is a serviceable starting pitcher. Here's the problem, though. $9,100 is fairly expensive for a pitcher that historically hasn't had the most strikeout upside in the world. Also, doesn't work all that deep into games. This isn't a guy who's, an innings eater like Sandy Alcantara or Nathan Eovaldi or anything like that. He's a guy who's a very solid pitcher, but typically, like I said, doesn't generate a lot of strikeouts. And if you look at his results this year, he's pitched past 6 innings twice the entire season, which, that definitely caps the upside for a pitcher who, number one, is expensive today. And then number two, has a strikeout rate this year of 24%. And then last year, his strikeout rate was 22.5%. So considering not just the price tag and my questionable upside on him, he's super popular today. Second most popular pitcher on the slate. So the first way I'm going to recommend you guys could make your lineups a little bit different. If you're going to spend up a pitcher, maybe look a little bit elsewhere than Bailey Ober. And I'm going to give you some other options that I'm getting to that I think could help you differentiate. So in terms of Bailey Ober, Neil, do you like him? Do you love him? Do you hate him? Are you neutral on him? And what stands out to you as potential pivots in that price range?
Yeah, I mean, I love him, but I don't think I love him as a DFS option today. Just based on the top pitchers tool, 23% projected ownership, 12% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 5% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. Yeah, I mean, he's just clearly not in as good of a spot as Bryan Woo. He's in Seattle, which I have no issue with pitching in Seattle, but I'm interested to see what I'll get there, but I would imagine just based on the top pitches tool, I'm probably going to be underweight to the field. It's very flat. I mean, after Bryan Woo, we've got Nathan Eovaldi with a 12% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. And then like the next 9 guys all have around 9% or higher. It's just very flat with pitchers today. And Bailey Ober is among the most expensive and he's getting the most ownership on the slate after Bryan Woo. So I think it does make sense to be underweight there, as much as I hate to admit it.
One other thing that I want to ask you about, just because I'm taking notice this game is in extra innings right now. The Giants-Reds game is very likely to lock before we actually get lineups for that game. And the Giants are a super annoying team. They use platoons. They play weird lineups. Is that anything that's on your mind? You're trying to contemplate how you go about doing it? Because I'm kind of watching this game because it's gone. Luckily, we do have the Giants put up 2 runs in the 10th inning. So maybe they just win this game really quick and then we get the lineup beforehand. But what are you going to do if this game drags on? The game locks at 7:10 Eastern time. The first game of it's not really a doubleheader because it's a continuation of the game that had rain issues last night. If this game is still playing at the time the time the game locks on the main slate, how are you going to approach that? Do you just take them out of your lineups? Are you going to guess? What are you going to do here?
Man, I don't really want to take them out of my lineups in Cincinnati. That's I think I'm going to play it. It's tough. I'm also probably going to trivia, which makes me think maybe I should be taking them out because I might not be able to adjust. But they look so good. Like these are 2 of the top offenses on the slate. The Giants are 2nd overall in top stack odds. The Reds are like 7th overall in top stack odds. And I really like the Reds here. So I think that if I were to take one of the teams out of my player pool entirely, it would probably be San Francisco, just due to that pinch hit risk and due to all of the other issues surrounding San Francisco, their potential lineup. I really like the Reds today, so I would be disinclined to remove the Reds from my player pool. But I mean, you have to stay on top of things. You have to stay alert with situations like this where, the lineups could be wonky. It might not come out exactly how you want it to be, but it's a really nice spot. So it's not really the kind of game environment that I want to fade. Like if it were a neutral spot, maybe I'd fade this game, but these are 2 of the better offenses, I think, on the slate.
It's pretty funny. We've got hitters here that are expected to be popular Jock Peterson projected for 15% ownership. I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself by talking about offenses, but it's an ongoing situation, and it's one that I think is very pertinent to the slate when you consider Jock Peterson projected for 15% ownership, Lamont Wade 13%, Yastrzemski 15%, Conforto 14%. If this game doesn't have a lineup out prior to the game locking, I find it very unlikely these guys are actually going to be this popular, just because I know for me, myself, I'm looking at it as like, hey, these guys are pretty solid options. But in the back of my head, too, it's like, I don't want to stack this team and then find out that half the players I stacked aren't in the lineup. Because it's also, one of these scenarios, they're playing a game, finishing a game, then they're going to play another one. Who knows how that impacts what kind of lineup they're going to be putting out there. So going to be interesting. Are you going to try to limit your exposure in any way, or just kind of let it rip and let the chips fall where they may?
I think I'm just going to let it rip and then adjust as necessary. Currently, so I just ran my first crunch, and I'm not getting to much Cincinnati, which I kind of want to adjust. I think I might manually adjust to actually try to get more of Cincinnati. But I think I'm just going to let it go as is. I'm getting to a decent amount of San Francisco in my first crunch. I'd like to manually adjust my Cincinnati, but I think I'm going to let the game play. Like I'm willing to take on that risk for a 2% owned Cincinnati team. And then, as you said, they could come in even lower owned than we're expecting them to, given just the uncertainty of the situation. This is one situation where I don't think I can fade the game despite the risks and despite this being a very large slate.
Yeah. And if anybody has any questions for us as we're talking here, at me in Discord and we can answer some of those, or if you have a super chat, leave those in the YouTube chat and we can answer those as well. But getting back to talking about the rest of the pitching here, Neil, everything else is pretty spread out, right? You got Brian Wu, nearly 40% owned. Then you've also got, like we talked about, you got Bailey Ober right around 20%. Every other pitcher on the slate, south of 20% ownership. Of the contrarian pitching options, which ones are standing out to you the most?
So I am getting to, hang on one second. I'm getting to a ton of Hunter Brown, who is coming in at 8% ownership. It's obviously you're taking a pitcher in Colorado, not the best spot, but he is currently my most exposed player. In the first crunch, in the first simulation that I ran, Hunter Brown is my most exposed player. Which did you also get a ton of Hunter Brown, or are you just a little bit over the field?
No, I'm way over the field. He's not my most rostered player or anything like that. Okay. But I'm well over the field to him. If we're just talking about relative to ownership, he's the player I'm most leveraged to.
Yep. I currently have 56%. And in the first sim that I ran, I got to 56%. And I'm a little bit underweight or not underweight. I have a little bit less Houston than you have, which I think is probably because I did give them more ownership in fantasy cruncher. So I imagine I have more. I'm going to get less as a result. There's still by far, like the first 9 players that I have after Hunter Brown, I think I have 8 straight Houston bats are my next most exposed player. So it's not like I'm getting to like none there, but I imagine I'm getting to less of them. And then as a result, getting to more of Hunter Brown. He is more expensive than Brian. Or maybe, am I wrong about that? Maybe I'm misremembering what the price is.
No, Hunter Brown is $200 more expensive than Wu over on DraftKings,
which probably doesn't make a huge difference in terms of how much I'm getting to. But he's going under owned. And if you look in the top pitches tool, as I said, he's coming in at 8% projected ownership, 9% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He's 8,100, but he's a talented pitcher. Obviously a tough ballpark, but Colorado, not an offense that you're afraid of at all. So I'm certainly okay getting to well over the field on Hunter Brown. As far as other low owned options, I'm sort of interested in Luis Medina, 6,100 going up against Boston, 3% projected ownership, 14% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher, 5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher overall. No Rafael Devers in the lineup. They're in Oakland, one of the best parks for pitchers. So, not the best pitcher in the world, but the price is right. The matchup is right for Luis Medina. So I'd say I have some interest there. I should look at what I'm getting to in my sims outside of those two. Do you have any?
Something funny, because I'm just looking through my 9 most rostered hitters are the 9 hitters in the Astros lineup. I don't have
that might be the
hitter.
Case for me too.
Yeah, like I don't have another hitter who cracks into my top 9. My most rostered non-Houston hitter is Acuna, who ended up in 16% of my lineup, so right around even with the field. But yeah, just very Houston heavy. I also got to a bunch of Hunter Brown at pitcher, and this is the kind of spot where, you and I talk about the merits of potentially playing Coors Field pitchers and when we want to go about doing that. Hunter Brown is fairly cheap. The Rockies are an offense that are better against left-handed pitching than against right-handed pitching. The downside is apparent, right? It's Coors Field. He could absolutely get his ass kicked and go out there and have a bad performance, score negative fantasy points. And also, Hunter Brown's kind of sucked as of late. The one benefit of that is that his price point has come down, but a lot of strikeout upside. Even in some of these starts where he's gotten really roughed up as of late, we've still seen good strikeout outcomes for Hunter Brown. Last time out against the Mariners, 3 innings, 8 strikeouts. So he gave up 5 runs. He got pulled after 3 innings, but he struck out 8 hitters. For that against the Rangers, another tough matchup, 4 innings, but 6 strikeouts. Then against the Dodgers, 6 innings, 7 strikeouts. The Mets, 5 2/3 innings, 7 strikeouts. So he has been in some of these situations. The Seattle wasn't the most difficult outing in the world, but on the road against Texas, on the road against the Dodgers, against the Mets, these are not the easiest matchups in the world. And I do think that's kind of contributed to some of these struggles of Hunter Brown. It doesn't get any easier pitching at Coors Field, but the offense he's facing is going to be a little bit easier than what he's seen as of late. So Hunter Brown, a lot of risk. I would not play him in cash games for tournaments. I like him quite a bit. And also, if you and I are going to be really high on the Astros stacks, if the Astros go off and we get Hunter Brown through 5 innings, he's fairly live for the win bonus. And at his price point, $8,100 on DraftKings, I do think that is something that could make him just valuable, is just being able to go out and get the win. Same goes for FanDuel, where the win is even more valuable. He's $8,300 over on FanDuel. So I like him on DraftKings and FanDuel. He's my favorite contrarian pitching option on the slate. I'm aware of all the downside. Don't play him in cash games. Love him in tournaments. The other pitchers that I also like, if I am going to be going cheap, Taj Bradley, a young pitching prospect I've gotten to a lot of exposure to, and basically all this starts this year. And everything I just said about Hunter Brown probably applies to Taj Bradley as well. A lot of strikeout upside, brutal matchup on the road in Texas, but he's cheap at $7,300. If I'm paying up for a contrarian pitching option, somebody else who kind of fits the same vein, Lucas Giolito on the road in New York, Citi Field, pitching against the Mets. Giolito, another guy, a lot of strikeout upside, has the potential to get roughed up a little bit. But with that said, he actually has pitched a little bit better this year than he has last year. And I'm seeing a little bit more signs of Lucas Giolito of old that is popping up here. By the way, in chat, I do see a little downstream just said to us, the Giants-Reds game just ended. So now we wait to see if we get the lineups from that game. That game is going to be locking here in about 30 minutes. So we'll see if the lineups come out before the game actually locks. Anything else that's really standing out to you as far as pitching goes, Neil?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll say I didn't realize it right away because some pitchers snuck in there. My top 8 bats are all Houston bats, or sorry, top 9 bats are all Houston bats as well. So we're on the same page there. Yeah, just looking at through my exposures, and this is just the top 50 lineups of the 2,000 that I crunched. I got to the most Hunter Brown. After Hunter Brown, I got to some Taj Bradley. I got 40% Taj Bradley as well. So I'm with you on Taj Bradley. I'm actually underweight I only got to 26% Brian Wu. And then I got to Medina, as I said, Lucas Giolito. I also got to. So those are, we're on a lot of the same pitchers, it sounds like.
Yeah. And, not surprising. We're using the same process in the Sims tool. We're ultimately going to get not the same lineups. We're going to get some similar results in terms of it's going to tell us. It's not like I'm going to run lineups through the Sims and it's going to tell me to play, 60% Astros. Then you're going to run through, it's going to tell you to play 10% Astros. It's going to be, somewhat synchronized in terms of the sort of exposures that we're getting to, depending on what kind of adjustments you and I are making. But yeah, pitcher, I'm getting to Brian Wu is a chalk pitcher, about even with the field. Hunter Brown, my favorite contrarian option overall. If I'm going cheap and being contrarian, it's Taj Bradley. If I'm going expensive and being contrarian, I'm going to be going with Lucas Giolito. And now let me just double check Discord to see if we have any questions in here, which we do. Oh, we do now. Einsteinium wants to know thoughts on Jameson Taillon. Dude, it's funny. Einsteinium asked me, I kind of felt bad about this. He asked me like 3 questions yesterday, and almost all of them, he asked me about a team that I was about even with the field on in terms of stacks. And now the same thing has happened today because he asked me my thoughts on Taillon. My final exposure to Taillon here is 6%. He's projected for 7.5% ownership. So I'm about in line with the field here on Taillon. I don't think he's the worst contrarian pitching option in the world because he's a really good matchup against the Washington Nationals. But at the same time, too, Taillon's kind of been a bit washed at this point in his career. He was good in his last outing, which was a really random one to be good in because he was on the road in Yankee Stadium. But other than that, you look at the numbers for the year for Taillon, 6.15 ERA, 5.37 expected ERA. The strikeouts are not there anymore, only a 20.3% K rate. His velocity is also a career worst, 93.9%. So now over the age of 30, there are definitely massive red flags of regression for Jameson Taillon, both in terms of ability with the strikeouts dipping and the velocity going down. But the matchup, at least to me, makes him worth being in some lineups, but it's hard to prioritize him when he's been just this shitty for the entire year. Are you noticing anything about Jameson Taillon in your builds?
I got 10% Jameson Taillon, so just slightly above the field. No strong takes here. He looks fine in the top pitchers tool. We've got him at 8% projected ownership, 7% chance to be in a top 2 pitcher, 12% chance to be in a top 2 value pitcher. So it looks like he's owned about exactly where Jameson Taillon should be owned.
Alert, by the way, Starling Marte has been scratched from the Mets lineup. So this is something that's not going to make a massive difference on the slate, but a slight boost to Lucas Giolito. And then also, obviously, if you have Starling Marte in your lineups, get him out of there. You don't want him anymore. Anything else you want to add at pitcher, Neil? If not, we will answer Ace of Spades super chat on our favorite DK tiers options.
No, I think we covered all the pitches we need to talk about.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about DK tiers. And did Josh post anything today? I don't know.
Sure did. I've got it pulled up already.
All right, there we go. So time to dig into Ace of Spades question. Yesterday, we were able to stack up the Dodgers in tiers, which ended up going pretty well. Grayson Rodriguez pitched really well early, but then kind of started to fatigue towards the later stretches of the game. And then the bullpen just gave up all of the runs of hitters that he had left on base. He came out of the game, and then a relief pitcher promptly gave up an 0-2 grand slam to Chris Taylor. But here we go with tiers today. We've got some options starting in tier 1, a pretty clear one. Ronald Acuna for me in the first tier. How about yourself?
Pretty clear for Josh also. Ronald Acuna.
Something else as well that's in here that we don't typically see is they have included the Houston Astros bats. We don't always see Coors Field in tiers, but at least it's only tier 3. It's not like you can make a full Houston Astros stack, but make plenty of Brave stacks. Tier 2, Matt Olson.
Matt Olson for Josh as well.
Tier 3 now, another one that there's a lot of options here that I kind of considered to be no-brainers. Now, with that said, there is a little bit of a discussion we can have about correlation because I think Kyle Tucker is by a mile the best option in tier 3, but if you want to differentiate a little bit and get extra correlation with tier 1 and tier 2, you do have Ozzy Albies as an option in this tier. But what does Josh have in tier 3?
I was going to make the exact same point. So Josh also got to Kyle Tucker the most, but I was going to say, like, we're seeing a lot of Braves in other tiers. I might consider doing the correlation thing instead, but it's a close call there.
Tier 4, Sean Murphy, another Brave.
Yeah, so Josh actually got to 22% Juan Soto, 16% Sean Murphy. I think this is another case. I think I'd be more inclined, to go to Sean Murphy in this one rather than in tier 3. But you can do both. Obviously, correlate the Braves across the board.
Tier 5, Austin Riley, another Brave.
Also Austin Riley for Josh. So you can do a 5-man Brave stack if you really want to in tiers.
4-man. Oh, no, you're right. 5-man, because we have the one in tier 3. Yeah, you can do that. Do a 5-man Brave stack. And then tier 6, this one's a little bit closer. I have it fairly tight here between Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Jonathan India. The catch with India is we don't know if he's going to be in the lineup or not, because that game now starts in 25 minutes at locks, and we don't have a lineup yet for that game. So I'm going to say Jonathan India in tier, I'm going to say Vladimir Guerrero in tier 6, but if you want to get really risky, you could go with India.
Yeah, Josh also has Vlad Guerrero at 15.9%. He actually has him neck and neck with George Springer at 15.3%. Jonathan India down at 11.3%. So Vlad Guerrero seems to be the consensus.
All right, so just in a second, we'll build some lineups in the lineup generator. So Jordan, if you wouldn't mind getting that set to go. But first, we have a super chat from Mr. Cool Cam 97. Mr. Cool Cam wants to know, what is our favorite stack on FanDuel not named the Houston Astros? So this is a fun way to look at the slate because the answer is the Houston Astros for basically anything. But if somebody was looking to get away from the Houston Astros, and to Mr. Cool Cam's question on FanDuel, who would be your 4-man stack that isn't Houston?
I think it might be Houston. Or sorry, I think it might be Cincinnati.
Houston.
Yeah, we can't get away from Houston. Sorry, man. No, I actually really like the Reds as a contrarian stack in Cincinnati against Anthony DeSclafani. They're getting just 2% projected ownership, 4% chance of being the top stack. I think I go contrarian, like all the way. Go down to the Reds there.
I'm going to say the Boston Red Sox against Luis Medina. I feel bad for him. He's clearly a talented young pitcher. He's got really good stuff. He throws hard, but he's not ready for the big leagues. And the Oakland A's, they don't have a good anything. They don't have a good offense. They don't have a good defense. They don't have a good pitching staff. They don't have a good bullpen. Their owner's dog shit as well. But here's what happens to Medina. Like let's just get him experience at the big league level. They're saving themselves some money on paying big league talent right now. And they basically just leave him out there to die every start, because even if it starts out decently for him, it starts to go south and they just have him pitch through it. So he has these unbelievable blow up starts where even though he might look good in the early innings, the stuff looks good. You just have such a high risk of him getting totally blown up. Boston Red Sox only being 4% owned. I know the game is being played in Oakland, which is a pitcher friendly park, but kind of same when I talked about stacking Boston yesterday against Paul Blackburn. He's not a pitcher that I really totally believe in. And even though it is a spot that is pitcher friendly, we still see a lot of A's pitchers get blown up there. So Boston Red Sox against Medina, that is my favorite non-Astros stack over on FanDuel. Let's go ahead and build some lineups in the MLB line. Oh, by the way, Reds lineup has already dropped.
Oh, nice.
Let's see if there's anything unexpected in there. I'm going to compare the actual lineup to what we had projected. De La Cruz, yes. Friedel, yes. McLean, yes. India is in there. Jake Fraley's in there. Votto is in there. Steer is in there. Casali instead of Stevenson, though. And then we do have Benson in the lineup. So if you were building lineups, you could swap out catchers. Go to Casali instead of Tyler Stevenson in any red stacks.
Yeah, but it looks good. Everything else looking the same.
Yep. Now we'll see what kind of stupid lineup the Giants end up giving us shortly. But first, let's go build lineups in the MLB lineup generator. Gut feeling here, Neil, based on experience. I think we're going to get to a good amount of Houston Astros. Is that fair to assume?
I think that's fair to assume. I did my MLB lineup generator VOD today, and yes, got to a lot.
Go contrarian, Jordan. I want to see if we could do anything to get off of the Astros. My gut feeling is absolutely not. But if you guys want to sign up for the MLB lineup generator, it is the easiest way to build lineups as a startup DFS player. It is going to build the lineups for you. You just give it a couple inputs of things that you are looking for, and then it's going to build the lineups for you and win big money. Like our guy here, Daniel Claybrook, who added us over on Twitter yesterday. He said, lineup generator is the shit. Thanks for everything. He ended up winning some of the lower dollar tournaments over on FanDuel. So we actually saw him take down the, what is it called? The pinch hit on Saturday, which is the 25-cent entry. So I know a lot of people say that, like, hey, I can't play 150 lineups. I don't have the bankroll for that. Well, guess what? If you're over on FanDuel, there's 150 max. I think maybe as cheap as a penny even. There are really, really cheap 150 max contests you can play over on FanDuel. So you see our guy right here ended up taking down the 25-cent tournament. So congrats to Daniel. And if you guys want to win some money, like our guy here, sign up using the lineup generator. Access, if you use the link below, less than $5 when you sign up for the first time. So go win some money like our guy Daniel Claybrook here. But looking at these lineups, stack exposure is actually kind of less than I thought, believe it or not. 56% Houston Astros. I mean, I don't really know exactly what I would have said my expectation of, but I would have thought a little bit higher than 56.
Well,
Still
we went contrarian, though. We went contrarian.
That's true. 56% Houston Astros. In terms of player exposure, most rostered hitters, a lot of Astros there.
Yep.
Dubon, Diaz, McCormick, Julks, Hunter Brown, Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman. One thing that is kind of nice, though, a lot of the hitters that we're getting more exposure to actually are McCormick, Julks, some of the lesser owned ones. So that's something to at least take note of, because there are ways to build lineups with the Houston Astros, particularly like Jeremy Pena is projected for single digit ownership. There are guys in there who are not projected to be massively popular. As far as pitchers go, Hunter Brown, Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller is a contrarian pitching option we got to.
Taj Bradley.
Yeah, Lucas.
I'll say it's not surprised that we're getting to a lot of the lower owned bats, given that I mean, these are all balanced lineup. Like these lineups have all been balanced for us, even though they're contrarian lineups, they're not balanced, but like they've all been balanced in a way to be plus EV, which is generally going to include some lower owned bats. So I'm not surprised to see that we're getting to some lower owned Astros in there.
Yeah, and I mean that is one way that you could play a really chalky stack and still have it be somewhat different. You take a couple of hitters from the end of the lineup that are projected for 7-8% exposure. You know, Jake Myers is at 7% today. There are ways that you could definitely make it a little bit different looking. Anything else that stands out to you?
I mean, it looks very similar to what you and I were both getting in the Sims tool. So it's kind of cool to see like the tools. I mean, we went completely different process, but got to similar results, which is good to see. We are missing, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, do we have all 9 of the Astros bats, our highest owned bats here as well? Or I thought I counted just 8 the first time.
But this is, I mean, 9 is a big number to count.
It's hard to count this far. Yeah.
I didn't get a cross from a welder for my counting abilities.
That's right. Yeah. I'm just here to hit dingers. One of them is a pitcher. Okay, so we're missing one Astros bat among our top.
It's
top
Jake Myers,
bats.
by the way. I've
Jake
got
Myers,
a
okay.
sharp eye for this. I was able to pick out who's missing.
Look
If
at
you
you.
scroll down, you'll probably find some Jake Myers though. Oh, maybe not. So Jake. Oh, there he is. There he is. So okay. Jake Myers is in there. We are overweight the field on him. He's projected for 7% ownership. We got 12% of him here. But yeah, all the Houston Astros hitters were popping up in lineups.
Greg, I like this question from Ryan Reenbaum, who asked, going back to tiers, would you now prefer India over Guerrero now that we have the lineup?
No. Yeah, I like Vlad more.
Okay. Same.
All right. So let's go and build lineups for FanDuel now. And same deal, Jordan. Go and make some contrarian lineups, and we'll see if that gets us off of the Houston Astros at all. And then I'm also going to double check Discord, which we don't have any other questions in there right now, but we do have an updated lineup from the Mets. So just so you guys know, Mark Canha is starting in place of Starling Marte. So if you had any Mets stacks that have Marte in them, just go ahead and pretty easy fix is that you could swap them all over to Canha and complete your stack out. And that is one way that you could do it pretty easily. FanDuel lineups. Look how quickly Jordan built these ones out here. This is a man who knows how to click quickly. Houston Astros, 50% of lineups, a lot of them, but once again, not anything crazy, not like 80% Astros. We got the San Francisco Giants, second most rostered team there at 19%. And now if we're looking at our most rostered hitters, Kyle Tucker, Chas McCormick, Corey Jolks, Yanyer Diaz, Mauricio Dubon, all Astros, and we got a couple of Giants mixed in there, JD Davis, Brandon Crawford. Game starts in 20 minutes. Still not entirely sure who's going to be starting for the Giants, but anything else that is standing out to you here, Neil?
No, I think we covered it fairly well. I did not realize that game starts in 20 minutes. Now I'm concerned. I guess I don't have to worry about it. Like if I do go to trivia, it'll already be set. But that now we have that is a better. If we don't get the lineup before the game starts, are we playing them? That is I didn't realize that was a question that we're asking ourselves, and that's going to make me hesitant to play some Giants.
Yeah, so we'll see. We got that Reds lineup in already. I assume we're going to get the Giants lineup in fairly quick order. I've been keeping an eye on it, but nothing that has come through quite as of yet. Let's see. So scrolling down, I want to see some of the pitchers. Brian Wu, our most rostered here. Then we got Bailey Ober, Hunter Brown. Pretty spread out of pitching. We don't have like one predominant pitcher on FanDuel.
Yeah, very spread out. I mean, I guess makes sense. It's a one pitcher site, and in general, like we just have the pitchers are very flat in terms of top pitcher odds today. So it's good to see. Like I prefer that. Like I don't want to be taking 80% of a pitcher who has an 18% chance to be in the top pitcher. I like that it's spreading out the risk a little bit at pitcher today.
All right. So now let's go ahead and talk about, are my lineups updated here? Not quite yet. All right. I have to upload. Sometimes it's like, oh, I built the lineups, but then you got to remember you also need to actually edit them is something that helps as part of
Thank
the
process.
Thank you for the reminder. Yeah.
I need to do that too.
Sure, make sure you actually upload the new lineups. All right. All set here. We've done it. And is everything set for me? Oh, that's why I don't have everybody with check marks, because I don't have the Giants lineup yet in here, which why would I? Because they haven't submitted a lineup yet. But let's go ahead now and look at some of the stacks here, Neil. And one more time also, guys, shout out to BetMGM, who is sponsoring our show today. If you guys sign up at BetMGM for the first time using the link below, you are going to get 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. And look at how happy it makes Eric. Eric, who's been getting all kinds of BetMGM signups on his betting video, which if you guys want some help with betting, go check out Eric's video over on the Odd Shopper YouTube channel. Check out his Twitter account. Eric's Twitter exploding, growing very fast. He posts really good betting content over there. And yeah, he will be very happy if you sign up at BetMGM, which gets you 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum and your first bet insured up to $1,000. So if you want to go and wager $10 on your first bet, that's insured if it loses. You want to wager $50, that's insured if it loses, all the way up to $1,000. So it doesn't have to be $1,000, but if you want to go up to $1,000, even if it loses, it's going to be insured in free bet bonuses there. So go check out BetMGM. And if you're signing up, use the link that we have below. And we also have BetPro over at Stochastic.com, which will help you identify some of the best bets over there. But Neil and I first, we got to talk about some stacks here. Not going to be able to walk through some of our favorite bets. What are you ultimately doing here with the Houston Astros? Has anything changed over the course of the show?
So I just gave boosts, and apparently I over boosted my Reds because now I have 66% Ellie De La Cruz. But no, I think I'm going to walk that back. I'm going to be overweight to the field, I think by a substantial amount on the Reds. Or sorry, on the Astros. I'm probably not going to be as overweight as I was at one point, but I still want to have at least like probably double the field, just given that we have such nice positive leverage on the Astros. They look great today. They're in Colorado in a great matchup. Really hard to say anything negative outside of ownership in general, but like the ownership is also a little bit too low according to the top stacks tool. So really hard to find any reason to dislike Houston today. I'm going to be overweight to the field. How about you?
You know that Ellie De La Cruz is currently my enemy.
Is he really? What did he do to you?
Not really anything, but I was doing a bunch of best ball drafts for DraftKings, and Ellie De La Cruz he was going, his ADP was a little bit under 3. So he was pretty regularly going second in DraftKings best ball drafts, and it was just befuddling to me. So I tweeted about it, and people were just like, no, I'm wrong. Ellie De La Cruz is the truth. And he has 0 hits in the second half of the season so far. And just all the numbers indicate that he's clearly super talented, but he's now a guy who was a 107 WRC plus, so slightly above league average, but he's going to regress super hard in the second half of the year because he's a BABIP north of 400. So there's a lot of indications that he's probably going to be a average-ish player in the second half of the year, and people were taking him over like Ohtani, over Betts, over Tatis. So stuff like that. I was like, well, that seems fairly crazy to me.
So you should, I feel like you should like him right now since you made this call and you've been correct. Like he's really living up to what you said he was going to do.
No. We still got to root against him. Okay,
that's fair.
Bit. Yeah. Still got to root against him a little bit. Anyway, we did get a super chat here from SMP, and then we'll try to find some other stacks for like outside of Houston. He says, with the trouble Wu has versus lefties, any Minnesota Twins mini stacks. So are you going to play the Minnesota Twins at all for leverage off of Brian Wu?
I don't think that I currently have any. Maybe if you want to play Juilliard, I haven't looked at the Twins lineup. Is Gallo in the lineup? You could play some Kepler. Certainly you could. I mean, he's a rookie. There's still volatility in there, and you're definitely going to get leverage on a popular pitcher. I don't think that I have any currently, but I kind of like the idea.
It's funny, if you look at his numbers, righties have basically had no success off of him, and then lefties have done basically any damage that's been done against Brian Wu has been done by lefties. He's allowing a 479 WOBA to lefties, 133 to righties. So at least as of now, pretty significant splits. I don't hate the thought. As far as my stacks, though, yeah, I'm not getting the Minnesota Twins either. At least not today. I don't hate the thought process, though. I think it makes a good amount of sense there, SMP, but not something that I ended up doing personally.
Yeah, we have Kirilloff and Kepler 3rd and 4th today, and then Castro switch hitter in the 6th spot. I kind of like it, and I don't. Wallner in the 5 hole. Yeah, there's a lot of, and Julian in the 2 hole. So I actually kind of like it, given the struggles with lefties and given how many lefties the Twins have in the lineup today. I currently don't have any. I do like the thought process quite a bit. So yeah, if you're hand building, I like the idea for sure.
And now let me just double check to see if we had any questions in Discord before we head on, which we do. Clyde wants to know, am I rostering any of the pitchers in the San Francisco Cincinnati game? So Luke Weaver, I'm positive I don't have exposure to. Let me just double check here to see the pitchers. So pitchers are Anthony Desclafani and Luke Weaver. I have one Anthony Desclafani lineup out of 150.
I don't believe I have any.
Like if somebody sneaks into a lineup here or there,
sure,
not the end of the world, but the answer to your question, Clive, more or less, no. I'm not targeting Anthony Desclafani or Luke Weaver for tonight. What stacks are you getting to outside of Houston, Neil?
So I've mentioned the Reds. I really do like playing the Reds today. Obviously, you don't want to play Ellie De La Cruz because he's Greg's mortal enemy. But outside of Ellie, I'm playing a lot of Ellie De La Cruz, to be clear. I really do like Houston. I like the way they look at low ownership today in Cincinnati against Anthony Desclafani. I think they look really good. 4% chance of being the top stack at 2% ownership. They do have less than a 1% chance of being the top value stack. So they're clearly like you need to pay up to get to the Reds. But I think that I'm still willing to do so in this matchup in Great American Ballpark. So I would say they're definitely a stack that I'm targeting. Have to like Atlanta a bit versus Zach Davies. They're coming in a little bit over-owned, 10% projected ownership, 8% chance to be in the top stack overall, but they still look really good there. And then San Francisco, I mean, we talked about that game environment. If we get that lineup, I'm definitely going to have some interest. They have a 10% chance to be in the top stack, 15% chance to be in the top value stack at 12% ownership. So the field is theoretically there, but if we think, and I think that you're right, that the field might be a little bit scared away by the lack of a lineup. If we get that lineup in the next 5 minutes and you're hand building, or like you have a way to quickly get some San Francisco into your lineups, I think that might be a good idea.
Yeah, I've got a handful of some of these guys in lineups as one-offs, and obviously we're rolling the dice. We don't know if they're going to be in the lineup or not. We know the Reds lineup. We don't know who's in there for the Giants. The game locks in 10 minutes. I'm okay with rolling the dice on it. If I'm going through the Giants hitters, these are the players I'm getting the most exposure to. It is, for me, Jock Peterson 1, Lamont Wade Jr. 2, Mike Yastrzemski 3, Michael Conforto 4. Those are the hitters that I'm focusing on the most. No shock, they're going to be the lefties who are facing against Weaver, and Weaver is kind of a dog shit pitcher. So I think that you can look at a lot of upside here with the Giants, but if you're somebody who doesn't want to take any chances, I would say just take the Giants out of your player pool. If you want to be as risk adverse as possible, don't play them at all.
Are you going to play them even if we don't get the lineup, Greg?
Yes, these lefties. These
I think I am too.
Conforto, Yastrzemski, Wade, Peterson. Those are the players I'm most confident are going to be in the lineup. I can't say with 100% confidence, but those are the guys I'm most confident will be in the lineup.
Yeah, I think that I'm with you. I'm playing them. I'd be like, there's a part of me that's like, I'm like playing a full 5-man stack of San Francisco feels a little bit too risky for me just because we don't have the lineup and things could get wonky. But like taking the chance on like 3 of them and just hoping, that because they're, some of the better bats are still like 80-90% likely to be in there at least. But man, once you get up to 5, it gets a little bit tougher.
Jordan Klein letting people know there's a new thumbs up animation on YouTube. And it is just the coolest thing ever. The only way to really see it is you guys have to click it. Jordan, can you explain what happens when people click the thumbs up? All right. If you guys want to know it for yourself, click the thumbs up button. Really see the cool features that are on our YouTube channel right now. Clearly designed by us. Just the YouTube exploding when you click the thumbs up button. So go check that out, guys. And now let's talk about some contrarian stacks, Neil. Are there any really low-owned stacks that are popping up into your lineups? Now, we're so heavy on the Astros that there's not going to be any lineups where it's like, oh, hey, I'm getting like 15 or 20% of this 2 or 3% on team. It just isn't going to happen. We have this amount of our lineups being taken up by Astro stacks. But are there any teams that you're getting to any kind of meaningful exposure to that are 1, 2, 3% owned?
Well, just only Cincinnati because I kind of forced them in. I am getting to a good amount of Cincinnati. Outside of Cincinnati, though, low owned. Yeah, I mean, San Francisco not very low owned. Trying to see if there are. I'm getting to a little bit of the Cubs, a good amount of the Cubs. How much ownership do we have on the Cubs today? Let's see here.
Yes, we've got the Cubs projected for not very much ownership today.
5%.
5%. Good matchup for them against Patrick Corbin, but yeah, it's pretty modest ownership on them. We can consider them contrarian.
Yeah, so I'd say the Cubs and the Reds are my 2 most contrarian stacks that I'm actually getting to in a good amount. I'm not getting to the Twins. I actually didn't get any in my crunches. I'm regretting it though. I actually really do like the idea of playing lefties against Brian Will.
Yeah, no, it's considering his ownership, I do think there's potential leverage to be had there. As for me, a team that I talked about liking on FanDuel that I like on DraftKings as well, Boston Red Sox going up against Luis Medina. There's just an opportunity for a young pitcher who's gotten blown up a lot this year for the Red Sox, put a crooked number up on the board. So Boston on the road against Oakland. We've got Boston projected for 3% ownership right now on DraftKings. So that qualifies as being a pretty low ownership mark there. Over on FanDuel, also projected for 3% ownership. So whether it's DraftKings or FanDuel, I think we do have the Red Sox making some sense as a contrarian team here. Now let's go ahead, Neil, and do some home run picks to wrap up the show. And well, you're excited for that. You came ready.
Oh, I love doing the home run picks. I just crushed. I crushed these home run picks. I have a model, a method that I use that's really been successful for me, Greg.
All right, Neil. So go ahead and tell me who is at the top of the board of the top batters tool that you're going to pick to hit a home run today.
You gotta give me 1 minute. I'm gonna get there for you. Okay, here.
And it can't be any Houston Astros, which I assume are all of the hitters at the top.
That's a good point. That's a good reminder. All right, 1 second. Ooh, last updated 54 seconds ago.
All right. So it should be timely.
All right, top of the board.
While you're doing that, I've already got my answer in my back pocket. Jock Peterson.
Oh, you stole it. You knew where I was going, Greg, and you just stole it right out from under me.
No, I just looked at my exposures and was just like who is power upside that I'm overweight to. I think has chance to hit a homer. So it is going to be Jock Peterson for me. And now I hope he's in the lineup because I don't know that we've ever picked somebody to hit a home run that didn't end up playing.
Yeah, that'd be rough for his home run odds. He is the top of the top batters. So Jock Peterson, we have with a 43% chance of hitting a home run, but I'm going to go somewhere else. Number 2 is Matt Olson, who we have with a 39% chance of hitting a home run. He's not in Coors Field, so happy to take Matt Olson here. All
right, Matt Olson. So not Coors Field, but the Braves are kind of the closest thing you're going to get to Coors Field. But I'm not gonna power shame anybody, Neil. I think that is a perfectly acceptable choice. Anything else you want to talk about on the slate before we wrap up here? We've got like a minute to go before we lock.
Sorry, were you asking me a question? I thought you were asking chat a question, so then I stopped listening.
Oh no, it's cool. It's cool. Maybe Jordan could answer instead. Maybe Jordan has some thoughts on the slate that he'd like to wrap. Yeah, I was asking you, Neil, if you had anything that we did, any stone that has not been turned over, anything you want to bring to the people before we wrap up the show. If not, that is totally okay. But just wanted to give you your piece here. If there was anything I didn't ask you about, maybe you wanted to say.
I will say one thing. So I think I said earlier, I like the idea of playing those lefty twins. I want to add, it doesn't have to be just the lefties. We've talked about this before, Greg, but like the idea is you want the starting pitcher to be knocked out of the game early. And at that point, it doesn't really matter. We don't know who the relief pitcher is that's going to come in. So you can play, if you are going to go the route of playing some twins against the chalk pitcher, you don't have to be exclusively the Reds. You can play some of the righties for the Twins as well. And yeah, Sotex is right. You guys, if you hit the like button enough, you get to see the back cross again. So here you go. Here is the back cross. Here is my way to ward off vampires as well. Although I might watch Renfield later.
No vampires on this program. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did not do yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget about our podcast network as well. If you ever want to listen to us on the go or in podcast form, go subscribe to the Stochastic Daily Fantasy Podcast channel. Just a 5-star review while we're there. Thank you guys very much once again for watching. Good luck with all your lineups tonight. We'll see you here tomorrow.